30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Cardi eyes the upright, says he's ready. Here's the snap, ball down. The kick is on the way. It is good. Cardi is 4 for 4, and the LA Rams have taken a 12-6 lead with 18 seconds to go. The Rams are on their way to a third straight win and improving their season record to 8-6.
Ryan Radke on Westwood One. Hope you like field goals. No touchdowns in last night's game. Doesn't mean it wasn't important, though. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. And, man, the 49ers, that's it. Mathematically, they've got, like, less than 1/100th of a percentile. So I guess they're in the hunt. No, it's over. Season's over for the 49ers. And a season that, Perloff, people had deemed the season of hell for the 49ers feels like it finally came to its merciful conclusion last night. This season felt doomed from the very beginning. We can talk about all the ways that it went wrong, but last night in a tight game when you just needed a little offense, your defense banged up, guys playing hurt, guys refusing to play in the game, so many things happening for the 49ers defense, and the offense could not do anything.
Starting to get the sense that Brock Purdy is not good in the rain.
Well, to be fair, he won the NFC, the divisional game last year against the Packers, but
I mean, I saw the headline on the San Francisco Chronicle sports page today is what happened to Mr. Elite. Like Brock Purdy, oh boy. Now there's that after last night, there's going to be a much tougher decision because this was, you're right, it was the season and it came down to it and he came up very small in that game. But then again, what do we know about the weather? Because they kept saying, oh, there's a light rain coming down, and it looked like a monsoon. And every time either quarterback threw the ball, it went right through the receiver's hands. Totally. So the rain did determine most of the first half especially. But then when it dried out, Stafford looked good in the second half, and Purdy still looked really rattled.
Really rattled. And this is my thing about the offense. And we can spread the blame, and we're going to dole out a lot of blame here today for the 49ers. He couldn't step up. He couldn't be the difference. And when you're talking about $50 million a year, $45 million a year, you're talking about the big investment that you make into a quarterback. I think you're starting to wonder, all right, when we needed to lean on you, when we needed it from you, we couldn't even get the Hail Mary off in the last, at the end of the game because you took a sack. And that's not even the worst play. He was missing guys. You said, there were some good throws, but not nearly enough. And he's not the only one. Deebo Samuel was an absolute zero last night as well. And not just a zero in terms of 3 receptions on 7 targets for, 16 yards. He had 2 carries for 3 yards. This is Deebo. This is supposed to be a guy when you have, other people hurt on the offense, the weapons. He's complaining about how many touches he gets, and now this is the output, not to mention the big drop on third down in the third quarter, not to mention the false start call in the second quarter. And then you wonder, Perloff, all right, Purdy, Deebo, but what about Kyle Shanahan? And I feel like this whole season is kind of coming down to Shanahan in a lot of ways. Yes, injuries, totally injuries. But also Shanahan, it felt to me, I'm watching last night, I'm like, man, has this just run its course with Shanahan? And I'm not saying he would be the one who gets fired. I wonder if he even looks around and says, I've done all I can do.
But what about the fact that this same exact season, to the T, happened in 2020 and Shanahan stormed back and made the NFC title game in, I think, 4 straight seasons after that. So why would this be any different? This is 100% injuries. What is Shanahan supposed to do with backups all year long?
I get it. That felt like a roster, though, when you looked around, was a roster that they didn't have the quarterback situation figured out, but they almost felt like a little on the ascent. Like the younger Bosa, and you have, younger Warner and younger Kittle and younger everybody on that roster. Now you guys have all been through a lot. You've been through 2 Super Bowl losses. You've been through as we said, season from hell for a lot of different reasons. You've been through multiple contract things and dragging out in these postseasons and then coming up short in these games. Like, there's something about when you've invested so much and you still have been so close and the bar is so high and you fall short, that feels like a higher fall than the one going from 2020 or to 2021 or whatever.
I don't know. It feels identical to me. Literally, they lost. They blew a Super Bowl. They blew it. Nick Bosa got hurt early in the season last year. Now this year, everybody got hurt.
Yep.
The fact that they were desperately trying to make sure their fourth string running back could get on the field last night. This is by far, I don't know. I think everybody, even Shanahan in his own brain, is going to say, well, this was injuries. Like, what am I supposed to do? Did you see that defense in the first quarter when Dre Greenlaw was out there with Fred Warner? We got about 8 minutes of the old Niners defense. And I don't know if they got tired or what happened. Dre Greenlaw he actually played well most of the first half, but we saw a glimpse of what the Niners could look like healthy. I think Shanahan's going to see that and be like, oh, well, this in his head, he's going to say this is 100% injuries. Like, if you give me the full team, I'm going to be good.
Maybe, sure, but I think a lot of those guys they're getting a little older. They're getting a little more injured. And here's my question just specifically about last night. We're kind of going to toggle back between the micro of what we saw last night in the game and then sort of the macro, like the bigger picture, the 30,000-foot view, if you will. Why did Dre Greenlaw play that many snaps in the first half? If he's on a pitch count, if Hufanga's on a pitch count, why were they playing basically the entire first half in a tight game when you had a whole second half?
Well, I mean, desperation. I can understand that. Like a must-win situation, I think, it's like LeBron on a pitch count. Like the players want to be out there, and it's hard when Dre Greenlaw is killing it and stopping the Rams' run to pull him off the field is not easy to do. I get that. I would totally blow through that pitch count too.
I know, but look at how it ended up screwing you potentially at the end of the game, because when you really needed Greenlaw and when you really needed these guys on the field, they couldn't be, and that led to one of the more dramatic moments from yesterday. Obviously, us sitting at home, and even the reporters in the press box, nobody knew this was happening in real time. We only found out after the fact, which is Devondre Campbell, who was a free agent who came over from the Green Bay Packers, specifically came over, Perloff, because Dre Greenlaw was going to miss so much of the regular season because he tore his Achilles in the Super Bowl. So he's been starting. But obviously, Dre Greenlaw, triumphant return last night. He's introduced last. The crowd's going nuts. A triumphant story, great story. But when he had to leave the game, it was actually D. Winters, the second-year linebacker, who was second on the depth chart. So now Devondre Campbell is third on the depth chart, but this is football. So what happened? D. Winters got a neck injury. So hey, Devondre, you're up. Third string, let's go. He refused to go in the game. Refused. So that left them to go to Demetrius Flanagan-Foles. Oh, yeah.
Demetrius. Good friend of mine.
Future Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
The immortal Demetrius Flanagan-Foles. Listen, I commend the guy. He's out there with a knee injury, and he got in the game. So, tough. Let's hear from Kyle Shanahan talking about Devondre Campbell not going back into the game.
What happened with Devondre Campbell? He didn't play, and he went into the locker room at some point?
Yeah, he said he didn't want to play today.
Play today?
Yep.
The coaching staff?
He did when I asked him why he didn't want to go in. So.
During the game or before?
No, that was in the third quarter.
I mean, wild. And here's some of his teammates. Now, normally, teammates, especially with people they like, will not air out other teammates, Perloff. But that didn't happen last night. We're going to hear from George Kittle and Charvarius Ward. Manny, let's hear from Kittle first. Disappointed in Devondre Campbell not coming back to the game.
That doesn't make our offense look at each other and be like, wow, man, we're falling apart. It's more of or like the defense, hey, we're falling apart. It's more of a one person making like Mooney said, a selfish decision. And I'm with Mooney on that. And I've never been around anybody that's ever done that. And I hope I'm never around anybody that does that again.
Okay. Charvarius Ward, obviously the corner, saying his Campbell's exit was, stuff I can't say on radio.
I mean, he's a professional. He's been playing for a long time. I mean, if he didn't want to play, he shouldn't have dressed out. You know, he could have told him that before the game. So I feel like there was some subtle that he did. Definitely hurt the team because, you know, D went down. And we needed a linebacker, you know. And I think Flan was banged up too. So for him to do that, that's some subtle stuff to me, in my opinion. Like, it's probably going to get cut soon. So, you know, it is what it is with that.
Yeah, probably going to get cut maybe in the course of a couple hours, Perloff.
Yeah. Wow. This is obviously I was not up for this. I think he's becoming a little bit of a lightning rod. Like, obviously the team's super frustrated. Like, I'm not going to look at the 2024 Niners and say Devondre Campbell was the problem.
Torpedoed the season.
Yeah.
But, you know, last night they needed a linebacker.
Well, that definitely was not the issue last night. I mean, I walked away from that game. Maybe it was the weather, but, I mean, Purdy was terrible last night. There's no way around it. And Ricky Pearsall was a waste of a first-round pick. I actually like.
I mean, the guy.
Well, like I know that's the thing.
Shot. I mean, he's the miraculous comeback.
You were
Last night
talking
he
about,
was
like,
ineffective. I don't know if he's a waste of a pick.
Well, let's look at what are they bringing back next year? Assuming is McCaffrey's 28? Is he still good? I mean, they ran him into the ground last year, so of course he didn't do anything this year. Can he come back? I'm just trying to think about what you mentioned. Is Kyle Shanahan done with this project? They're going to have McCaffrey back next year. They'll have Ayuk and Pearsall wide receivers next year. Kittle's clearly got more. He's like Travis Kelce. He's getting better in his 30s. He's awesome. And then you saw a glimpse of what does this defense look like when everyone's there, and it's pretty good. The
secondary has been good. Let's be fair to the 49ers. Yeah. The secondary actually has been good.
Yeah, but there's nothing scary about the 49ers defense until last night when Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw were running around popping people. I haven't seen that in all year long. Like, was at any point where they looked intimidating? No. And obviously, then Nick Bosa feeds off of it, and you start to see him running around, and then it all disappeared in the second half. The Rams controlled the game with the run game.
Yeah, I mean, they also should have had 2, maybe 3 interceptions that just got dropped.
Yeah.
You know, some of the Stafford throws in the first half, they're bouncing off again.
Yeah, it was sopping wet. Yeah. It didn't go either offensive players or the defensive players couldn't catch the ball.
You know, it's funny because you think this is a little more about Purdy. I think it's a little more about Shanahan. But let's be honest, they're tied together.
Ooh, I don't know. They have a big decision. Like, I think this is I think you and I disagree a little bit. I don't think it's a done deal that they're going to make him the highest paid quarterback. I think this is really interesting times.
But do you think he's getting like the 2-year, $40 million? You think he's getting the Daniel Jones contract?
Well, I think they're gonna
basically thanks for nothing. We're gonna be out of this in 2 years anyway.
I think they're going to try and do that. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be an awkward conversation with Brock Purdy's agent. Do you think they're going to give him the Dak Prescott contract?
I think they are. But here's my thing. I'm looking at this last night, and I'm wondering, is Shanahan going to be the one who's making the decisions about this roster? I got this weird sense that I think the fan base is frustrated. I think a lot of this stuff, they blame sometimes the player, but sometimes the coach on some of the contract stuff, personality stuff. You know, I kept coming back to this, and it might not be fair because Devondre Campbell you're right. He was the story of the game after the game, but he wasn't the reason why they lost. But was it indicative of a bigger thing? This team just doesn't feel as together.
I mean,
and the thing is that has to be on the players. If they are going to have selfish behavior, it's inexcusable, but it's also on the coach. And I hate to do this, but I'm going to do it. Would any of these guys have done it to Dan Campbell? No. We know the answer is no.
What if Dan Campbell lost 45% of his starters? Would they do it to him then?
I don't think so.
I mean, it wouldn't matter. They'd be 6-8. They'd both have the same record. If you took Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Penny Sewell, you already took Hutchinson, and maybe the 3 top defenders off of Detroit, they'd be 6-8.
It's not that bad.
Yeah,
that's
worse. That's an extreme.
It's literally worse. You took Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, and Christian McCaffrey, Dre Greenlaw.
He's on one person.
Yeah. I just say that's like.
Well, I guess he does run and catch the ball.
Basically, they've all been hurt this year. That's incredible. That's an incredible amount of talent.
Well, Bosa was
and I'm only
recently,
there's like
but Bosa was back.
Bosa has not been Bosa this year. I mean, he's clearly been favoring that abductor or whatever it is. There's just no way you could describe that he's been there.
So here's the thing, though. If you want to just blame the injuries,
yes.
Okay, then why don't you give Brock Purdy a pass? Because Purdy didn't have McCaffrey and Purdy didn't have Brandon Ayuk, but you're not giving Purdy a pass.
Well, I mean, not giving him a total. I want him on my team, but I don't want to pay him $60 million. I mean, he was underthrowing guys like crazy until the interception where he overthrew the guy.
Yeah, in the end zone. Oof.
He just doesn't look quite as sharp this year. He looked great last week against Chicago. I think, and we all know Purdy, like he needs these weapons around him. There's no doubt about it. So why are you going to pay him $60 million if you need to keep that cap space around? It is going to be the story of the offseason.
No doubt. But here's my thing about the injuries on the offense. I know they lost McCaffrey, and that's a big deal. And clearly, it's a much bigger deal.
And Ayuk, you have to talk about that.
And Ayuk, but it's not like the cupboard was so bare. You're talking about Kittle's a future Hall of Famer.
Okay.
We're talking about Debo has just been bad this year. I don't know if they're not getting him in the right. I don't know.
Debo got old.
But Debo's still a thing.
No, he's done.
Juwan Jennings, they paid. Not
$15 million for 2 years.
Okay, but they invested. And by the way, the Kyle Shanahan, in terms of the run game, he's been able to run the ball with guys we've barely heard of. So the fact that McCaffrey is not there, sure, do you take a step down? But we've seen him have success with Jordan Mason, then he got hurt. And he's been able to turn these third-string running backs into a thing. So, I feel like they've coached around that in the past.
There's no team that could coach around this. Did you see Trent Williams last night? No.
No.
Did you see? There are guys that we're not even remembering that are gone. Like there's no team could survive this. Not even close.
Who did Kirk Herbstreit think Trent Williams was last night?
I don't know who that guy was, but he looked like I don't know who that guy was. But that's on Amazon too.
I thought they said it was Trent. What they mistook somebody?
Yeah, no. So
it was someone on the sideline.
Yeah, the broadcast showed some random dude who I don't know. Forgive me if he's a player. He was injured, obviously. He wasn't suited up. And they said this was Trent Williams. And I'm like, come on, guys. What's going on?
Yeah, he's Trent Williams was in a suite.
And they showed him later in the game.
Yeah, that was defensive tackle Nesta Jade Silvera.
Oh, I should know him. He went to Miami.
Bad job by you, Leach.
Yeah.
Got a poster up of him on the wall.
He's a defensive tackle. He's usually wearing his helmet.
But, reality. Hufanga is going to be back. Drake Greenlaw will probably be back. Fred Warner is not that old. Nick Bosa will be back. So that's like a lot back on defense. And then everybody except for Debo is back on offense, right? So you're not going to run this back. You'd be insane if you were the ownership.
Well, again,
why do you have confidence that these guys will get more healthy as they get older?
And McCaffrey might just be over.
I have faith in McCaffrey after a year because
you had faith that he was going to come back this year and be good.
I did.
I think you did.
McCaffrey? I've never been a McCaffrey guy.
Well, that he was coming back and that now we'd finally see the
Niners,
offense.
You couldn't rule out the Niners because once McCaffrey comes back.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. But I think McCaffrey with a year off he's 28. And the only reason I say that is because Derrick Henry was so good this year. I'm like, the super freaks can have another good year. But first of all, I just think it seems so much like 2020. Like when Bosa got hurt early in the season and they were kind of around 500, I noticed the parity. Things started to go south when they played your Bills right around midseason. Same thing is kind of happening now. I just think they are not going to judge this season. And any team, there's no team in the NFL that could survive these kind of injuries. There's just that's impossible. They lost the best left tackle of our generation, best running back of our generation, an all-pro wide receiver, or at least a Pro Bowl wide receiver.
Well, and then if you want to pull this thread, though, you might be able to pull back and say, well, Trent Williams came in, and I know he had personal stuff that went on in his life that was very, very sad about them losing the child. That is awful. Was stillborn. But he was not in camp. And I know he's a pro and he's an older veteran and he can take care of his body, and I get that, and he knows what he needs more than probably a trainer, or something like that. But he wasn't around because of this contract dispute. And so you start going backwards, and it's like this thing was just almost doomed from the start, it felt like, because the Ayuk things got so messy and muddy contract-wise, and then he got hurt. And then Trent Williams gets hurt after he was a holdout the entire off season. And just every part of it felt like nothing has come easy to the 49ers this year. Let's put it that way.
Let me also throw out, they redefined the roster after this first Super Bowl loss. Like a lot of those guys, almost they brought in Trent Williams, who they got rid of. Remember, their receivers like Emmanuel Sanders. They brought in more receivers. Like, they also have a good front office, which I'd give some credit to. Like, maybe they could bring in some young guys who can help. I mean, this guard Pooney looks really good. Like, maybe they're a smart front office, and Shanahan's a good coach. Like, I think they can redefine themselves. I think that Barry, like, this whole project would be, and you're right, it could happen, but I feel like that's way premature.
855-212-4227. Coming out of this game and the 49ers season being over, do you have more questions about the future of Brock Purdy or the future of Kyle Shanahan with this team? EJ, can we throw that poll up, please? Perloff thinks it's Purdy. I think it's Shanahan. And it's not because Shanahan's going to get fired. Let me make that very clear. I think he might ask to move on. Especially if, say, the front office is like, you know what, we're not sure about Purdy or something. Are you going to go through another long holdout, a whole deal because Purdy's up and now you're going to try to play hardball?
Well, I just say it's mid-December. We don't really need to break down Purdy because he will be the A block of SportsCenter for the next 6 months. I mean, this is going to be the summer of Brock Purdy's contract. Get ready for it. Just like last year was Dak Prescott's contract. There's going to be a lot of talk.
Last year was Ayuk, too.
Well, no, but I mean, Brock Purdy is going to be the number one story in the NFL come February 10th. And I think it's an impossible decision. I don't even know what to do. Do you know what to do?
Yeah, pay him. Bring him back.
Oh, geez.
But I'll tell you what, hard for me to make the case after last night because he just was not a difference maker last night.
You're going to make him the highest paid quarterback? That is going to be tough.
I just watch football and I see these guys get massive deals. 855-212-4227. Let's hear from you 49er fans. Who do you have more questions about their future with the team? Brock Purdy or Kyle Shanahan? Let us know. We've got lots more to do today, including getting you set for this entire slate. We've got sound from Bill Belichick being introduced as the North Carolina head coach yesterday. He hasn't tried harder to win some playoff games than he was trying yesterday to become likable. We'll get to Bill and so much more next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Had a million nights just like this. So let's get down to business.
Welcome back. Maggie and Perloff debating the Niners' future here. Maggie's worried about Kyle Shanahan. I'm worried about Brock Purdy. Let me just read one line from Scott Ostler's column in the San Francisco Chronicle today. Call it deja vu. 3 seasons into one of the most improbable, inspiring football player journeys ever, Brock Purdy is once again, at least for now, irrelevant.
Oh, ow. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, he was tough last night. The underthrows or the overthrows last night. I'm like, what is happening to Brock Purdy? What happened, I think, was that Rams they got some pressure on him. And like any quarterback, he can't handle pressure. Every throw, you're like, why did he underthrow that by 10 yards? Then you saw some young Rams defender. I'm very interested in the Rams. To me, it's an interesting timeline thing. Can this young defense mature enough while Matthew Stafford is still elite? And can the two meet on the same plane and win a Super Bowl? Because every time you watch these like 23-year-old defensive players, they are more impressive than the last time.
It's going to come down, it feels like, to Week 18, Rams, Seahawks, maybe for the division. But to be fair to the Seahawks, their defense has been playing awesome. They might just win the division. They've got the lead. They could keep it. But there was one criticism that I have of the Rams last night. As Andrew Bogusch comes in wearing Manny's coat today. You can watch the show, youtube.com/InfinitySportsNet. One criticism I have of the Rams, what is Sean McVay thinking, or what is Stafford thinking? I don't know whose decision it was for Stafford to take off on a QB keeper towards the end zone where he got absolutely pummeled right by the goal line and was holding on to his right side for the rest of the game. It looked like he shattered 4 ribs on that play.
Well, you notice Stafford's been running like crazy this year, though? Like, he ran a bunch of times. He's been like sneaking more than ever before.
They ran a QB sneak later on in the quarter. I was like, doesn't the guy he
sneak like 4 or 5 times against your Bills? Or maybe it was the game before. I was like, whoa, they are running this guy. So, by the way, both the Rams and Seahawks can catch the Commanders for the last wild card, but the Commanders have sort of an easy schedule. They're going to be Commanders are in 5. Yeah, and so they'll kill New Orleans, who's not going with their starting quarterback. But if they could catch the Commanders, both teams could make it theoretically. It's going to be tough. So I think the team that no one wants to see is the Rams. I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, but in the first half, I was like, what happened? They're this scoring machine against Buffalo, and then they can't get a first down. But obviously, the rain was a major factor.
Well, it was going either through the Niners defenders' hands or the Rams receivers' hands. You know what's so funny? Al Michaels at Kirk Herbstreit said, like, a little light rain coming down. It looked bad, and then it got bad. You know what, though? I really like this Rams. The way they built this team, oh, my God. Like, where did they get these guys from? These defender guys, like, you watch the pass rush, every single one of them looks like a monster.
Well, it turns out there's one way to win, which is bleep them picks. But then when you actually get a chance to use your draft picks, it turns out you can build a pretty good team.
Well, they've made Puka Nacua as in the 5th round. Like, somebody there is really good. Either Les Snead or Sean McVay, they deserve a lot of credit.
855-212-4227. We're asking you today more question marks about the future of Brock Purdy or Kyle Shanahan. Dan's in Northern California starts us off. Dan, what do you think?
Well, I don't know if you recall, but I talked to you last night, Maggie, and I said the 49ers would not be making the playoffs. Even though I've been a 49ers fan since 1970, they're my team, but they just don't have it this year. Too many injuries to big players and so forth. But to answer your question, I got to think it's Brock Purdy. I mean, Kyle Shanahan, the only rap on him is great offensive mind, but he can't win the big one. He can't win the Super Bowl. Well, you know who else they said about that? The guy who's coaching at Kansas City.
Yep.
Both at Philadelphia and Kansas City. He went way more seasons than Cal.
Yeah, right. But Dan, here's the thing, though. This is what's different, though, Dan. Dan, hold on, though, and appreciate your call. What happened with Andy Reid? What changed? Little bit of an upgrade between Donovan McNabb and Patrick Mahomes. Would you not agree? Brock Purdy is not Mahomes.
I don't think that's really the story necessarily. Yeah, I mean, definitely an upgrade, but not like he could have won with McNabb. I think he matured as a coach. I think they're the same exact person. And eventually, Shanahan will find his Mahomes, I think, is the interesting thing. I think that Eagles team with McNabb should have won a lot more. Andy Reid was just maturing as a coach. I think the 62-year-old Andy Reid could have coached that Eagles team to a Super Bowl. I think he made 4 NFC title games.
Yeah, he did.
And he lost a couple at home where there was big favorites. Like, remember I think they're the same person. What's the difference between Shanahan and Reid? They've literally had the same trajectory, except Shanahan's a little better.
Right. Well, what I would say the difference is you're saying you don't believe in Brock Purdy, right? And Purdy is the big question mark here. Reid ended up with the second chance in Kansas City, and they draft what might go down as the greatest quarterback of all time. Like, that is a major field tilter towards Andy Reid, because even you say it sometimes. Yeah. He's still out there making some questionable decisions, and Mahomes bails them out.
I mean, Andy Reid coaching the Chiefs with Alex Smith looked like Andy Reid coaching the Eagles. He didn't look that much different. Remember, he coached.
I think Andy Reid's definitely a better coach now because he was a disaster as a game manager in Philadelphia.
He blew a major lead against Andrew Luck.
Yeah, that was a rough
with Alex Smith in the playoffs.
Basically, Andrew Luck's greatest moment.
Yeah, that's his.
Do you realize you're saying so? This is Andy Reid only won Super Bowls because he got Mahomes. Then
no, I think he was already a good coach, obviously. But what changed those last, maybe coaching gaffes and made them not, so horrid, that didn't bury the team. They were able to overcome them. I think is the difference in quarterback.
But why would Shanahan not be able to grow and eventually find he's so close. I think it's crazy to think that Shanahan will never win a Super Bowl. That just doesn't compute with me.
Not that he'll never win. It's not that. It's just if you're telling me he's got the next GOAT walking through the door at quarterback, then I feel a lot better about it. But it's Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I don't think he needs the next GOAT to win because he came so close with Purdy and Garoppolo. By the way, I want to start the conversation now. Do they pay up for Sam Darnold or Aaron Rodgers instead of Purdy? Do they bring in somebody to compete? I think you know how fast he falls in and out of love. I mean, he gave up on Jimmy G 3 times. So I think Shanahan is definitely going to be watching tape and be wondering, is this my guy?
855-212-4227. We're asking more questions about Kyle Shanahan's future in San Francisco or Brock Purdy's future in San Francisco after they were basically eliminated last night from the playoffs. All right, Bogusch is here rocking Manny's coat today. Are you cold?
This not anymore. This is a mistake. This jacket is well insulated. We are not outside. It is hot.
Are you going to be blowing up Heinz Field anytime soon? You look like Bane.
I don't know what Manny looks like when he walks in. I guess because he's wearing Knicks gear, I usually think Walt Clyde Frazier when he has this jacket on. It's mesmerizing, and it sits next to me most mornings. And today I was like, you know what? I'm going to wear it.
This is let's do a little. Well, for most people are listening to us, a little radio. Manny went to college in the wonderful city
1970s
of Buffalo,
with Donnie
New
Brasco.
York. No, he learned how to deal with the real cold, and so he's got the Sherling tan insulated coat. It's a trench coat though, because Manny doesn't mess around. Those cold winters in Buffalo, you need something like that.
You got to keep the backside warm and the lower quadrants. You got to.
Manny, I think it's a dynamite coat. Now that you said Donnie Brasco, though, I get what you're picking up on.
Yeah. I might have Rolexes in one side, some Coke in the other. You never know.
Yeah, be careful with those pockets, by the way. There's some things in there that you might not want to touch.
You don't want your fingerprints on any of that stuff, Bogusch.
It's also, it's heavy because I think it's made from an actual bear. So, how do you walk around in this thing?
Yeah, it's a heavy coat, man. That's why my shoulders are so broad.
That's what it is.
Carrying the show.
Exactly.
Well, you're starting to sweat.
Yeah. I'm going to read fast. Headlines are sponsored
off of my coat
by Prize Picks.
He's like a rotisserie chicken in that thing.
Getting a little dizzy. Football season's heating up, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Download Prize Picks, use code PRIMETIME, and get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. Must be present in certain states where it's lawful to wager. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
You can run.
The Rams played in the highest scoring game this season on Sunday. Then last night, 4 days later, they played in the first game this season without a touchdown. They won both 44-42 over the Bills and 12-6 over the Niners last night, exactly how Sean McVay drew it up.
We know we'd love to be able to finish those with touchdowns in the red area, but the Niners, they did a great job defensively. There's going to be some great things we can learn from, but we'll take the win. And like I said, I'm really proud of this football team.
First half rain, part of the problem for the offenses last night, but the Rams did manage 3 fourth-quarter field goals from Joshua Carty, all 3 of them from under 30 yards to get another win. They're now 7-2 since a 1-4 start. That has them a half game behind the Seahawks in the NFC West and behind the Commanders for the last wild card spot. The Niners, meanwhile, have now lost 4 of 5. I think Amazon Prime told us last night they now have a 0.6% chance of making the playoffs. A linebacker walked off the field mid-game last night. Not ideal for Brock Purdy.
And I'm just trying to comprehend it really still. So don't really know what the whole picture looks like, but we have a lot of guys in the locker room, man, that are going to continue to fight, including myself, for this organization and for our fan base and for each other more than anything.
Purdy was picked off in the end zone in their second to last possession last night, then was sacked before getting off a Hail Mary on the final play.
Can I raise my hand, by the way, and give myself a pat on the back for saying the Kumbaya 49ers were over this year? Because that's what's happened.
Yeah, they called it the season from hell.
Yeah, we've seen Devo choking long snappers. We see guys quitting on the team mid-game. Like, this team is not together, as Maggie said, and I said this would happen.
That's injuries, dude. I think
injuries that a guy
crazy.
walked off the field? What are you talking about?
There's no vibes when Trent Williams is hurt. That's not a vibe.
Yeah,
that's your best left
Trent
tackle.
Williams being hurt is why Devo's saying he'll choke the long snapper.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes. Like the vibes are bad because they're losing because their players are injured.
Although
if
to
they
be
were
fair,
healthy,
though,
the vibes would be fine.
Perloff, you did say that Kyle Shanahan should have fired their special teams coach week 4.
It's gotten way better, though. I will be
Brandon
honest about
Ayuk hold out. Trent Williams hold out. Christian McCaffrey wants more money. There are a lot of things beyond just injuries as this team falling apart. It's very obvious.
I'll bet you if you look at the vibes in 2020, they were just as bad. When you lose, the vibes are bad. And on Philly, the vibes are bad even when you win. But
the vibes bad in off-season.
You would not know any of this tension if they were healthy and winning.
I knew this tension in March. What do you mean? There was the tension all offseason.
If they were 10-2, you would not be saying this.
Their offseason had tension. You're talking about they're losing now. I said in the offseason, I see things I don't like right now, and it was happening then. And it was like, well, don't worry, the season will come and it'll be fine. It's not fine.
Well, the
it
other
hasn't
part
been fine
too,
since the season ended.
The other part also is I think that they either were being overly optimistic, the team I'm talking about, or they were trying to mess with us a little. It made it seem like McCaffrey was going to be back way sooner than he was, right? Wasn't there a thought that he'd be back week 3?
And we didn't even know he was hurt.
week 4, week 5. Then he's in Germany and he's getting blood spinning. And it just, that part of it also felt like they're not telling us the whole truth or they didn't know.
Their first round pick got shot in the chest 2 weeks before the season.
Talk
like
about
you
bad
call
vibes.
that?
No, I call, but Perloff, I think you're being.
I know what you're saying. Like, no, you did say all that.
There are clear issues with
Chemistry.
this team and
Right.
chemistry issues.
But
and guys have been
if
upset.
all these guys had stayed healthy and they had hit a couple field goals early in the season, then they're winning, and then you're not saying any of that. I mean, they've been a razor's edge of losing too. Like a lot of the games they lost, it was just a missed field goal or they failed to cover a kickoff and a guy returned it 60 yards. Like. It's not like they've been getting blown out. Even last night, they lost 12-6. If Brock Purdy just does not overthrow Ricky Pearsall, then they probably win that game.
I just think there's only so much a team can take when it comes to both the physical and mental toll of having these long runs. And they've been together, and they've been kind of a one for all for one kind of team. And I think we saw fractures starting to show this offseason, and it's continued into this season.
Well, this is why we're
quit
asking.
right in the middle of the field, like. Campbell didn't quit because the guys are hurt. He quit because he couldn't get in the game and he was dropped to third string because the guy came back is why he quit. Like, the team chemistry is terrible there.
Well, this is why you have to ask the question about Shanahan.
Yeah.
And by the way, you're being kind. When they've played some good teams, it's been pretty lopsided. I mean, they lost badly to the Packers and they lost badly to the Bills.
But they have 4 division losses while leading in the fourth quarter.
Right,
Like
double digits to most of them.
And I feel like those are almost worse than getting blown out.
Also, that Vikings game, I'm looking at week 2, they should have won that game. That was they should have won that game for sure.
No, what? No, that's a revisionist history. The Vikings, remember Purdy went up to Flores and was like, hey, man, I didn't know what you were doing defensively. I had no clue what was going on. The Vikings dominated the 49ers in that game. That was the Vikings coming out party this year.
But guys, even going back to week 2, I mean, so much changes between then and now. They were just, whether it was early in the season, it was losing late and losing in the fourth quarter and losing those division games. And lately, it's just been losing every type of way. And congrats, you got a nice win over the Chicago Bears, a team that's like even more is having a sorry season. They had to fire their coach.
But what about I don't see it that way. I think they've been in close games. But how on earth are they going to win without these players? Like, have they ever won a game without Nick Bosa ever in the history
But that's the question,
the Niners
Pearl.
franchise?
And that's fair, and that's a fair question. But then I've always had beef with Kyle Shanahan and how he's viewed in the NFL. And if we keep saying, well, Kyle Shanahan doesn't have the best running back and the best edge and the best left tackle, well, how can he win? It's like, well, come on. Like, I've seen great coaches. I'm not saying you got to win a Super Bowl, but I've seen great coaches overcome some injuries. The idea that he needs the best defensive coordinator, the best edge, the best left tackle, and the best running back, and therefore he's going to be great. And this is where we see the greatness of Kyle Shanahan. My thing is, all right, let's see when he has a little bit of less. And then it's like, well, he doesn't have enough pizzas. Like, this guy.
Would you say in 2021,
so excuses.
Would you say the year that they lost to the Rams in the NFC title game, they had a little less that year and they did a great job?
He did that year. I'm talking about this year, though. I'm talking about the last few years where he's been blaming Steve Wilkes. He's been blaming Jimmy Garoppolo. It's always someone else's fault. It's never this guy's fault.
And they've been to 3 straight NFC title games. Like, what's wrong with that
Right, with
run?
the best roster in the NFL.
The question we're asking you today, whose future is more in doubt in San Francisco? More question marks, Brock Purdy or Kyle Shanahan? Bogusch, we're going to have to put a pin in that for a moment when we come back. Patrick Mahomes speaking out. And we'll tell you why he's mad. We'll tell you next. It's MP.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Not exactly the offensive explosion that we may have been expecting last night, but the weather certainly played a factor in the first half. Final score is 12-6. There were no touchdowns in this game. I believe it was the first game all season where there were no touchdowns. And of course, it happened to Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit.
Yeah.
Because those two dudes, they've gotten some better games this year, but they had some real bad luck in the first season of Amazon.
That would have been brutal because if the Rams had lost that game because they were down and deep in the red zone a bunch of times. And as we were talking about, called some weird plays.
Matthew Stafford running plays where he definitely looked like he got hurt.
And had some penalties. Like if the Rams had lost this game, then they would have really been kicking themselves for missed opportunities.
Absolutely.
They kind of dominated the second half. They should have probably been up by more.
855-212-4227. Yeah, it was a big interception of Purdy in the end zone also by the Rams.
Yeah, that was huge.
A major moment for the Rams. Mark's in Santa Cruz wants to talk about the 49ers. We're asking you whose future is more in doubt in San Francisco. Is it Kyle Shanahan or Brock Purdy? Who do you have more questions about?
Well,
hey, Mark.
Well, good morning. How are you two? And Merry Christmas.
Same to you.
I believe it's about a draw. So this is what I figure. I grew up in San Francisco. I watched Wyatt Till. I watched John Brody, and I saw a lot of great players come to San Francisco. But I'll tell you something, Purdy has a little something to him. It's very, very interesting. I think they need somebody to coach him besides just Kyle Shanahan. And I have a guy by the name who's a San Francisco native, by the name of Mike Holmgren.
wait.
And Mike Holmgren coaches the back in the late 70s, mid 80s. He coached the Green Bay Packers.
Wait a minute. Wait, Mark, hold on 1 second. I gotta put you on hold. So Kyle Shanahan would need to bring in an elder statesman coach, you think, to try to help out. And it wouldn't be Mike Shanahan? He's got his dad. It's the same thing. Bring in Mike Holmgren. Yeah. He's got Mike Shanahan. He's the last person who needs it. You want to see 76-year-old Mike Holmgren back in San Francisco?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting idea. I don't hate the idea of an elder statesman. I did not actually think about his dad. I was actually thinking, playing out that thread. I'm like, oh, is Mike Holmgren on his shoulder? By the way, have you heard from Mike Holmgren in a decade?
No, but I think he just was a finalist for the Hall of Fame. Am I making that up?
Could be.
EJ's on the phone. Manny, can you check that out?
Feels like a Hall of Fame kind of guy. Yeah, no, that's
absolutely.
What did he say Holmgren was coaching in the Niners? Did he say the 70s?
He said the 70s. He amended it to the 80s. Yeah. Super Bowl wins is what he's talking about.
Right. I can't remember. So Holmgren was in San Francisco. This is totally now. He was under Walsh in the 80s.
He was the offensive coordinator when they won 2 Super Bowls.
Okay.
Yeah. And he is a finalist, Manny?
That's right, for the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
He should be in. He should absolutely be in. We're asking you, whose future is more in doubt in San Francisco, Kyle Shanahan or Brock Purdy? Ken's in San Fran. Ken, what's the vibe?
Well, I'm just feeling like if you know football and you watch football, man, Purdy, he's not the one. He not. And I've been a fan since 1981, since my Montana era. He probably a good backup or something, but even at the last 2 plays of the game, he could have made that throw. Perloff was coming across the middle. He missed him. If he would have hit him, we'd have been inside the 30, and we would have had a better chance of getting that hell. He's just not the one. He not the elite quarterback that everybody thought.
Man.
He probably like a good backup or something, but I wouldn't spend the money on him if I was the owner. Let's be real. If you're a real Niner fan, he not it, man. He don't have it. He don't have what it takes. Even with the elite defenses, you can see he just don't have it.
Man, so how do you explain last year and then after Christmas the year before, Ken?
You know, that's the thing. But the NFL, you know, the first year you probably would be good. Even with Kaepernick, the first year you good. Then that's why it's the NFL. Then they pick up on you. They got his number. And, you know, good quarterbacks, the elite quarterbacks, they make adjustments.
Yeah.
And then you can see it in them. You know, you can just see it in them when you get that when you get that guy. You know, Purdy, he doesn't have it. He did good for the first year because the defenses, they never seen him. But now they see they got his number.
You know,
all
Ken,
you gotta do is blitz the guy. You blitz him, he's rattled. He don't make good decisions. Even with the overthrow with Perloff, the overthrow to Jennings. That was an interception. If he would have threw it, if he would have had a little more and looked at the field, he could have hit the other guy underneath. He just don't have it to me, and I wouldn't spend that kind of money on that quarterback. We could probably do a little better if we. I even take Kirk Cousins over him.
Oh boy, Ken. I mean, this is a guy, Brock Purdy. We literally have T-shirts that were sent to us last year by a listener. Brock Purdy for MVP. I had the Purdyites all in my mentions, calling me a hater when I was critical of Purdy. I mean, Ken's got a point, right? He's like, if you watch football, Perloff, you see that Purdy is going to fall short here of the elite quarterbacks. But weren't we watching football last year and thought, man, isn't Purdy really benefiting here from the weapons that he has around him? Haters. Yeah, people like me.
Even this year, like you saw, like last week against the Bears, like Purdy was nearly perfect, right? Like definitely, like I think the weather got to him last night. I know you mentioned they played well in the rain in the playoffs, but he's terrible in cold, rainy weather. He's just not good. So I put up a poll. Should they make him one of the highest paid quarterbacks next year? Want to guess the results?
Well, probably pretty low right now on Purdy.
Yo, you think it's recent? 76% say no.
Yeah, but Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles. You're talking about Sam Darnold, who was Purdy's backup last year.
Oh, Shanahan would love to get a hold of Kirk Cousins. That's
Aaron
not a bad idea.
Rodgers crawling out of the rainforest.
You're giving these options to San Francisco next year?
I'm talking about these options. Let's talk more about it. 855-212-4227.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Play clock down to 2, down to 1. Purdy in the gun, gets the snap. Back to pass. Purdy looking, taking a shot deep down the right side for Jennings, and it's intercepted in the end zone. Purdy hung it in the air, and Darius Williams picked it off.
Ryan Radke on Westwood 1. Purdy in the gun, Purdy under the gun. Now, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Final score 12-6. There were no touchdowns in this game. Rams win. And the Rams get to continue their playoff march, right? And keeping their hopes alive for the postseason, Perloff. But for the 49ers, a team that was an eyelash from winning a Super Bowl last year in overtime against the Chiefs, one of the stalwart teams in the NFC over the last 5 years, is basically sent packing last night.
Yeah. I'm still fascinated by, I think, an idea that you presented, like, why would you not just run this team back and say this is just injuries? Like, I'm just wondering, if, say you own the Niners.
Sure.
It's bad this year. I'm not going to lie. But Kyle Shanahan comes in for his final day meeting, which might as well be this week because there's nothing happening. And Shanahan says, Coach, I think I had a bunch of injuries. I can win with this team. Do you believe him?
Yeah, but I think the team obviously needs a makeover. And my question is not so much is the owner saying no thank you anymore to Kyle Shanahan. Is there a thought where maybe this has just run its course, right? Because are you going to go through another season where you're going to be maybe in a contract dispute with Brock Purdy, maybe not. His future could be totally up in the air. And is that something that's going to bleed into, and just like we had a season ago where the whole offseason is basically about not only why weren't you better, but now what are you going to do about quarterback and how are you going to solve this issue? And I don't know. I got a vibe last night, so this is just me. So much has gone wrong for the 49ers this year that I just couldn't tell if maybe even Shanahan says maybe it's time for a change of scenery for all of us.
But where's a team where Shanahan's going to have all these star players, and if you're an owner, where's a coach who's going to be Kyle Shanahan? Like, I can't imagine either. I totally understand what you're saying, but I can't imagine either side, the owner or the coach, has a better option. Like, there's no more talented team next year. I mean, with all these problems, like, they're going to run back a lot of talented players next year.
Okay, but
so Shanahan there's no better job for Shanahan.
Well, but here's the thing, right? You are going to be running back a lot of the same players because you financially tied yourself to a lot of these same players. And so it's going to be a lot of guys who are coming off of injuries.
Yeah, just like 2020.
Okay, but everyone was younger then, coming off of some injuries.
I mean,
so
Trent Williams is old is the big problem, but
here's the thing: it's not just about the age; it's about the football on their bodies too. Mm-hmm. This is what happens when you win so much. You play so many more games. They basically played an extra season of postseason alone. So.
Well, not this year, but not coming into next year. But yeah, I know what you mean. But maybe that rest will help.
You know,
I mean, gosh, they're like. They just paid Lenore. He's coming back. You saw Ward was out there last night. I just feel like there's a lot of young, talented players,
That's
too.
True.
Hufunga's young.
He gets hurt.
And also, Bosa's not that old either.
He gets hurt.
Yeah, I know he gets hurt, but he got hurt in 2020. And guess what?
No,
he got healthy, and then they went on a 3-year massive run.
I get it. But he was 5 years younger then.
So you're saying like Nick Bosa's like kind of washed?
No. I'm not saying anybody's washed.
He's
I'm not
27.
saying anyone's washed. But
Nick Bosa's 27.
But he was 22 the last time.
Right, but he could have 5 more years of Defensive Player of the Year kind of years.
Don't mistake me. Not saying that they're washed. saying you're positing it will be just like 2020 when people got hurt and came back. And I'm saying it can't be just like that because everyone's older. So it can be the same scenario, but do I have a few more question marks about guys coming off of injuries? I mean, who's going to come into the season thinking I'm drafting Christian McCaffrey 1 in fantasy? Nobody. You were doing that this year. Who is coming in thinking, I am expecting this defense to be fully whole? Who's coming in saying I'm expecting Trent Williams to play a full season? Who's coming in saying any of this? And by the way, the whole Brock Purdy thing hangs over everything because he was bad last night. And he wasn't the only one who was bad. To be fair, Debo was also ineffective.
Well, he's done.
Okay, so you got to move on from him. But
Definitely.
And he's been a pain in the butt, too.
And that's why you drafted Ricky Pearsall in the first round.
Sure. But the big question is going to be Purdy. And last night in a very tight game that you had to have. You had to have it last night. And what happened? Purdy was not the difference maker. And, $50 million, $40 million, you're expecting that guy to be the difference maker. And he was missing throws, and it was just all around bad.
Yes. But the thing is, you saw the first quarter of that Niners defense when they were all healthy and together, there was a glimpse of, oh, man, what if we had this team? And then as the game went on, those guys were like, wait, what happened to Dre Greenlaw? Wait, how come Bosa's not hitting Matthew Stafford on every play anymore? Wait, Warner looked really good in the beginning of the game. Now he looks like they're avoiding him.
Yeah, wait, Devondre Campbell won't come in the game because he's ticked off about being third string because Dre Greenlaw came back and then D. Winters was second string.
I would also say that 2020 team, they did tweak and lose. They lost a bunch of players and, they lost all those big time defensive linemen. They brought in new players. Their front office does have a history of also tweaking their existing run. You're saying that they can't make any improvement. Why can't they work around what they have? I know they have some big contracts here, but maybe they bring in a couple more guys. Maybe they make another couple awesome picks because they've had some really good picks.
Well, yeah, that's fine. But, here's the thing. Some of the splash things they've done when they've had trying to rebound from seasons have been big, huge things. Trading up for Trey Lance. That was a big, huge thing. Sure, it wasn't money, but it was resources. The Javon Hargrave, big, huge contracts. I mean, the Christian McCaffrey, the biggest contract for running back. They traded for the highest paid running back in the middle of the season and then gave him more money this offseason. These have been big statement things that they've done. They've been shopping at the top of the market or taking big risks. I don't know if what they do next year. Again, maybe it's a quarterback. Maybe it's Sam Darnold. Maybe it is Kirk Cousins. Maybe it is Aaron Rodgers. Either way, I mean, none of those guys, though, you're telling me are a slam dunk better than Purdy.
Yeah, I think they reshaped that 2020 team really fast. Remember they signed Travarius Ward. That was a big deal. They just re-signed Lenore. He's a really good player. I mean, there's a lot of good players there, even with some of these old guys getting old. I just think Shanahan's – there's no better. And I do think they'll bring back Purdy at a better deal. I just think that this struggle kind of helps them.
Well, what if they want to bring in somebody to compete with Purdy, but there may be, and listen, they could always franchise tag Purdy, I guess. There's they have some options, but there might be, maybe there's a team that wants to trade for him as a starter. I don't know.
That's not, is it? By the way, Brock Purdy's not a free agent, right?
No, that's what I'm saying. They could franchise tag him. It's 4 years when you're not a first round pick.
Right. No, they would need to franchise tag him the following year, right? This is he's at his third year, right?
Right. He's eligible for an extension.
He's eligible for an extension.
They could they could keep him on the hook for $800,000 or whatever he's making.
Yeah, that would
Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, and it's so funny. Can you imagine what does an unhappy Brock Purdy look like? I can't picture him
I don't know.
Yeah, he looks like such a nice guy, and it's just little Brock Purdy's going to be mad. I don't know. It's going to be weird.
Well, just wait. You might find out. Gary is in Vancouver. We've been asking whose future has more question marks. Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco or Brock Purdy in San Francisco. Hey, Gare.
Hey, guys. Thanks for the call. Can this guy keep getting? Coach has to go now.
Coach has to go?
Coach has got to go. How many quarterbacks?
Gary, I'm sorry. We got to put you on hold. Your connection is way breaking up. Gary was about to say that Kyle Shanahan's the one that needs to go. And while that does seem a little crazy on the outside, Pearl, it does give you a little look into the psyche of 49er fans who have been living and dying these highs and lows with this team, right? And I don't think Gary's the only person who's thinking, oh, Shanahan, so close, but so far? I don't know. So close, but so frustrating.
God, I guess so. I feel like 49ers fans would be pretty worried if Shanahan left. I mean, I think that this is a franchise that had Jim Tomsula at one point not that long ago.
Chip Kelly?
I think they would go into a major panic mode if Shanahan decided that he didn't want to be there anymore. I would. Obviously, I would say right now, who are the top? How do you rank the top 5 coaches in the NFL? It's probably Reed is number 1. McVay is certainly up there, and you don't have to go long to get to Shanahan. If he left, every team,
Mike Tomlin,
20 teams would immediately fire their coach and hire him.
So
25 maybe.
So here's the question though, right? Because we had a caller bring this up before, and you've brought it up before about the parallels between Kyle Shanahan and Andy Reid. Andy Reid got so close in Philadelphia, couldn't get over the hump, and then obviously goes to Kansas City, and it's a dynasty. When Andy Reid left Philly after, what was he there for? He was there for 15 years. I think it was
98 to 2011 or something.
Long time.
Yeah.
But were you crying that when he left?
No, but he had a bunch of down seasons, not one.
But what's a bunch?
Well, they snuck into that NFC title game when Arizona went down. I mean, definitely, the trajectory was way down for Reid.
Right, but you're saying he's basically the same coach that he was then that he is now. So he was a great coach then. He's a great coach now. And I don't think people in Philadelphia were really crying over him leaving. Sometimes you just need the change, right?
Right. But I think, as you mentioned, it was a lot more years. How long has Shanahan been in San Francisco?
Hold on. While we look that up, here's the last 3 seasons with Andy Reid: 11-5, 10-6, and then 8-8. It never bottomed out.
4-12.
Excuse me, then 4-12. It did bottom out.
Yeah.
But who was? I mean,
Also,
okay, so that was one down season.
Yeah, I mean, ever since the Super Bowl where T.O., remember the T.O., they weren't the same team. It got old. I think
think about it. T.O., you just mentioned it, the Super Bowl, a heartbreaking loss in the Super Bowl. T.O. playing on a broken leg, Donovan McNabb puking in the huddle. Look at what the 49ers just went through. Heartbreaking Super Bowl, losing in overtime because Brock Purdy couldn't complete a third down and because they decided to kick the field goal and give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes. The Super Bowl before that with Jimmy G, you're up by 10. Here comes Mahomes, Jimmy G misses a throw to Emmanuel Sanders. These are just as painful for the 49ers fans as that McNabb puking in the huddle was for you as an Eagle fan.
Absolutely.
Right?
So 17 years of Reid, and this is Kyle Shanahan's 7th year. So I just think I would imagine, and I think the most obvious route is that they would give him more time. Then, I think you build a lot of fatigue with Andy Reid. If he goes into double-digit years and it doesn't look good, then sure. But 7, I don't know. It feels early to me to give up on Kyle Shanahan, especially when you have so many talented players on the roster still.
No, but I guess
by the time Andy Reid left, by the way, the roster was not looking the same.
It's weird splitting hairs. It's not giving up on Shanahan. It's just parting. Remember when Gwyneth Paltrow broke up with Chris Martin and they said they had a conscious uncoupling? And that was obnoxious, obviously. And that was a very obnoxious way to say it. And it even felt worse as it was coming out of my mouth. But something like that.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, if they did part, I think the Eagles would fire Nick Sirianni in 3 seconds to hire Kyle Shanahan.
I'm surprised the Eagles didn't fire Nick Sirianni to hire Bill Belichick, to be quite frank.
That I understand, but Shanahan, I think if Shanahan got out on the open market and you didn't have to trade a first-round pick for him, oh my God, the coaches would be getting fired left and right to hire.
You would have to trade picks, though. I mean, Sean Payton got a first and a second to go to Denver.
Yeah, no, but I don't think, first of all, I don't think the Niners would take a first-round pick for Kyle Shanahan. But you were saying a parting of ways where they both mutually agree to split. So that would include draft picks in your little set?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't think. I don't think the Niners would do that personally. I mean, who are the Niners going to bring in?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, listen, after Andy Reid left, they brought in, who was it, Doug?
Chip Kelly.
Oh, right, Chip Kelly.
Yeah.
They went a totally different direction. So,
Yeah, and then they went back to Andy Reid. They're like, oh man, and Doug Peterson.
They went to Andy's right-hand man, basically.
But no, I think Shanahan. I totally understand with that fatigue. I just think you need a little more fatigue before they part ways. I think. I mean, you could be right. Maybe this offseason will be a disaster. But the other thing too is you know how NFL teams are. They're going to squint and say, we can run this back. That's what every NFL team.
Okay, but
geez, Jerry Jones is squinting and running Mike McCarthy back.
But here's the thing. When you say run it back, does that mean with Purdy? Because we all are also talking about the question marks surrounding the most important position on the team.
I think so, personally. I mean, there were all those reports that they were going to re-sign him. I think that there has to be a middle road at quarterback. I know I keep saying that. There's got to be something less than $60 million per year.
I haven't seen it except for Daniel Jones and stuff like that. But I think that's
Baker
kind
Mayfield?
Okay, but
Yeah, I know it's not the perfect analogy, but
Baker Mayfield, though, like nobody got to their conference championship game one year and got hurt, and then the Super Bowl the next year. Baker Mayfield has the pedigree of being the number one pick, but he hasn't had nearly the success. He had one playoff game before that, right? When they
Two.
Well, he beat the Steelers.
beat the Steelers, and then they lost, right, to the Chiefs.
I mean, I'm just saying what the ownership will try to say. It's going to be really interesting because definitely, like, Brock Purdy is not worth $60 million a year. I don't even think even Brock Purdy fans would say that.
Well, it's just funny, though, because if you want to cape for Shanahan and say that they're only having a tough season because the injuries have decimated the roster, why wouldn't you say the same thing for Purdy? Like, he's at a disadvantage.
You probably,
That's what his agents will say.
That's what his agents will definitely say, and they might have a good point. Yeah, again, though, you cannot ignore the injuries. Even if you think that it's a bad vibe thing, and maybe it was their fault for the offseason, then all the injuries happened, but this is a crazy injury year. And then finally, Dre Greenlaw gets back, and what happens?
Well, he basically played the entire first half. So Dre Greenlaw tore his Achilles in the Super Bowl, and then he comes back last night. They introduce him last, getting the crowd all revved up. It's awesome. He's on a pitch count, yet they basically played him the entire first half. The whole second quarter was in a monsoon. And so he couldn't play at the end of the game because he's on the sideline now with a knee brace on and the Theragun trying to work out something in his calf.
But how good did the defense look when he was out there, though? I mean, it looked like the old Niners defense.
Right, but when they needed him at the end of the game, he couldn't play. That's not his fault. I just don't understand the coaching staff burning him out in the first half.
I totally knew what you were saying in the game, but I'm just saying, like, wow, like the Niners, if they get that guy back next year, even the fact that he was running around like that coming off the injury, like, I think I'd be excited. To have Greenlaw and Warner and Bosa, they're not that old. They're all like 27, 28. To bring them back next year, like, you could fix that in a hurry.
It's not about age. It's just about wear and tear, I think. You know, the one thing I'll give the silver lining, I feel like we've been really dunking on the 49ers this morning because basically their season ended last night. Their season did end last night. But here's one silver lining I'll give you. So Devondre Campbell, the linebacker, walks off the field. He was, I guess, upset that he was demoted to third string because Dre Greenlaw came back and then D. Winters was the second string. So he refused to go in the game once Winters got hurt. And Greenlaw, had to take a seat. And beyond that, Perloff just walked off the field. Teammates calling him out, quit, selfish, don't want to be around a guy like that anymore. Kyle Shanahan saying we're going to take care of it today. Like, he's gone. Maybe the 49ers can use him, I don't want to say as a scapegoat because he put himself in this situation, but maybe all the frustrations for the season just get put on Devondre Campbell. Like, everyone just gets to unload on this guy, and it's just sort of clears the air. I don't know. It's like the enemy of my enemy. Like, everyone can point to him and be like, this guy quit, and we're not quitters, and they can just sort of put all their frustration and angst out on this dude. Does that make sense?
I guess so, but who cares? Like, all that matters is, are they healthy next year? Like, the team doctor is all that matters, not any of these vibes thing. To me, like, you guys, you and EJ are both vibes guys. I feel like none of that matters. Like, it doesn't matter what the vibes are if the player's not on the field. Like, yeah, maybe you could blame all of them, but how's McCaffrey's legs looking? Like, what's going on there?
I don't trust that either. I don't trust the vibes, and I don't trust McCaffrey's lower body.
Yeah, I think vibes really don't matter at this point. Like, they have, like, real decisions here. Like, are they going to build around Purdy? Are all these guys going to be healthy again? I don't know.
You can weigh in on our question today at Maggie and Pearl. More question marks around the future of Kyle Shanahan with the 49ers or Brock Purdy.
All right, Maggie. It's the best time of year, not only because it's holidays, but there's so many sports going on, and the best way to make your holidays bigger and brighter, Prize Picks. The best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. Over 10 million members, billions of dollars in award winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. App is so simple to use. Pick 2 or more players across any sport. Got a lot of NBA going on for me right now. Pick more or less on their projection, and you could win up to 100 times your money.
Big winner for me last night, Perloff, because I went less than on Matthew Stafford passing yards, but went
You read
more
the weather
than
report. Nice.
I did, and more than on DeMontis Sabonis points.
the old Stafford-Sabonis combo.
Honestly, they should name it after me. Prize Picks, and by the way, a happy Picksmas to everyone out there, because it is December, which means Picksmas on Prize Picks. And Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks this month. They're giving away $30+ million in rewards during this Picksmas season. So if you want to do the Sabonis Stafford double-double, you are welcome to jump on the bandwagon. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code M&P, M-A-N-D-P. Get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. That's code M&P on Prize Picks to get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Mand P. You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
I apologize. Welcome back.
We're getting
Maggie
rickrolled
Perloff show.
on
We're
our
getting
own
rickrolled
show.
by Manny. What's it? Manny is just like, he's way too smiley for a Friday morning where we all stayed up to watch a rainy football game. That was, by the way, that I was so psyched. Rams, 49ers, man, we're going to get just like the Bills, Rams. It's going to be a shooting match. That was the most boring game of all time in NFL history.
It was bad. It was bad. I just love how Manny thinks all of human history started in the year 2000, but has suddenly discovered the 80s. What happened?
Big. What are you talking about? This song is from a very, very popular internet trend.
Yeah,
in the
this song
2000s.
is now.
Yeah, this song came out back in like 2005. So.
My kids have known this since they were 2 years old.
Yep.
Do you think Rick Astley's cool with this? He is, right?
Should be.
The Rickroll thing? Derek Jeter, a huge fan of sending people emails with the subject line is like very important, open immediately, and it's just this song.
Yeah.
Should be. I mean, the royalties he's probably getting from this, I would hope, if he signed a good deal, would be great.
But we're not doing the Rickroll topic today. That's about 8 years old.
Let's go to Bogusch. She's got headlines. I didn't play the music. Blame Manny.
These headlines are sponsored by GoodRx. For simple, smart savings on your prescriptions, go to GoodRx.com or download the free GoodRx app. Now, Manny losing to the Rams and dropping to 6-8 all but eliminates the Niners from playoff contention. Linebacker Devondre Campbell getting an early start at ending his season, refusing to play, and then leaving the field as the third quarter ended. The Niners did not hold back post-game. Here's George Kittle.
I don't like distractions on the sideline. I think that's ignorant, and I think it's just dumb. It's just stupid, and it's very immature. And I just don't. I don't see how that's a. I just don't see how you can do something like that to to your team.
Pain. Campbell was supposed to play once Dre Greenlaw reached his play limit in his season debut, but refused and eventually strolled to the locker room with a towel over his head. When he left, the Niners did have a 6-3 edge on the Rams, but LA kicked 3 fourth-quarter field goals, and the defense made him stand up.
Play clock down to 2, down to 1. Purdy in the gun, gets the snap. Back to pass. Purdy looking, taking a shot deep down the right side for Jennings, and it's intercepted in the end zone. Purdy hung it in the air, and Darius Williams picked it off.
That's Ryan Radke on Westwood 1. The Niner free fall continuing with a 12-6 home loss. The fourth time this season they have dropped a divisional game despite leading by 3+ points in the fourth quarter. They're now 6-8. The Rams win a game without a touchdown for the first time since 2016. They've now won 7 of 9 after dropping 4 of their first 5. They're one back in the loss column of the Seahawks atop the NFC West and the Commanders for the last wild card spot. NFL Network is reporting that the Dolphins and Odell Beckham Jr. mutually parting ways. OBJ has just 9 catches for 55 yards this season. Further confirmation of Travis Hunter's skills last night. The Colorado star is the first player ever to win the Bednarik Award and the Biletnikoff Award, which go to the nation's best defensive player and best receiver. Miami's Cam Ward won the Davey O'Brien Award as best QB. It was just a regular NBA game, but Peyton Pritchard was playing like a cup was on the line.
Derek White races into the front court. Kick out. Pritchard fields it, looking for the 30-point lead. Got it.
Wow. I mean, when you start saying that, just wow. That's how good these guys have been.
Cedric Maxwell, Sean Grande, Celtics radio. Pritchard scored 27 on 7 triples in a 123-99 rout of the Pistons without Jason Tatum, who has a sore knee. The Kings topped the Pelicans in New Orleans 111-109, and the Heat down the Raptors 114-104 behind 21 points, 16 rebounds, and 5 assists from Bam Adebayo. We had a Bronny sighting last night, first G League road game and he hung 30 on the Valley Suns.
Whoa.
But the South Bay Lakers still lost 106-100.
That might be the most shocking headline I've ever heard you say. Bronny scored 30 in a G League game?
And on the Valley Suns, who are the Valley Suns.
The same Bronny who scored 4.2 points per game at USC? That's a great game.
I was going to say, did he ever score 30 points in college?
In high school.
High school, I
he was
think
like the
he did.
third best player on his high school team, wasn't he?
Yeah.
We have Bronny's game logs from Sierra Canyon. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, and Juju Watkins was there too, right? Weren't they at the same high school? Like, he was fourth best player.
Bogusch, the Valley Suns play at Mullet Arena.
Of course they do. Do they play defense there or no? The best performance of the night, though, might have come from Notre Dame sophomore guard Hannah Hidalgo. 29 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, 3 steals as the 8th-ranked Irish gave number 2 UConn its first loss of the season, 79-68 in South Bend. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thank you so much. Coming up, Andy Staples, covers college football for On3, is going to join us momentarily. So we're excited to talk to Andy because Bill Belichick, Pearl, had his big introductory press conference yesterday at North Carolina.
What'd you think of it? How'd he do?
He was trying real hard to win people over. This mythological Belichick charisma that people keep trying to sell us on, I'm going to need more proof. I feel like we have more proof of the Loch Ness Monster. At least there's some kind of grainy footage.
Yeah, you always hear, oh, man, if you were alone in a room and he's really funny, how is that possible? I've never understood.
I think it's all one big ruse. You know, remember they kept trying to say it's like, oh, Biden behind the scenes, he's sharp as a tack. It feels like one of those things, you know?
I'm not sure it's
going
Biden,
there.
but I do know before here, I worked at Sirius on the NFL channel, and there were multiple people there who swore this. And I did hear Bill once or twice on the air make a joke.
Yeah.
So I do think it is somewhere in there. So it might not be great, but it's there.
No, well, this is the thing. The bar is pretty low. You know, I'm not expecting Deion Sanders is going to walk into the room and all of a sudden we're going to get, Mr. Personality. So I guess because he's such a public curmudgeon, if he shows any kind of a pulse. But anyway, he was trying really hard yesterday, I think, to come across as, here's how he came across. He came across as, I thought, genuine. I thought he came across as measured, though, and enthusiastic, positive. It didn't seem like he maybe was forcing it in terms of trying to seem a little like happy or whatever, but he wasn't forcing it in terms of promising any championships or trying to rile up the fan base. He was just saying, this is what we're going to run. We're going to run a pro style system and he's excited. He said he did seem like that was genuine.
Fast forward, I'm dying to know if this is going to work. Gosh, if I could find out how one season is going to play out in advance, it'd be North Carolina football next year.
Let's get to our pal Andy Staples. Good enough to join us very, very early this morning, and we're reacting to Bill Belichick's podcast, his press conference yesterday. Andy has a podcast, and he works for On3, does a phenomenal job in covering college football for a long time. Andy, thanks for the time this morning.
Now, Maggie, Bill Belichick had a podcast. He has exited the podcast space. He apparently did not want to compete with the likes of me.
By the way,
I appreciate that.
He's going to continue doing McAfee. He's going to continue doing the Manning cast. We found that out yesterday, which is smart for him to stay.
Good for recruiting.
Good for recruiting. But, Andy, I thought Belichick came across as confident, as positive. What was your takeaway from his press conference?
I definitely think he came across as confident. He's clearly been doing his homework. He spent a lot of time around the Washington program this year with Jed Fish as the head coach, is a guy who worked for Bill Belichick over the years. And Steve Belichick, Bill's son, is the defensive coordinator at Washington. So he's kind of seen how this works in practice. He's seen how his defense looks being run by college players. So I think that probably gave him some confidence. But let's be real here. He's doing this because he wasn't going to get a job in the NFL. Now, that aside, that doesn't mean that he's doing this to get back to the NFL or anything like that. It may be that he's decided that window has closed or that ship has sailed. One thing I took away listening to him is he does seem to just enjoy the process of coaching football, of building a team, and the thing is, if you are process oriented, I've talked to Nick Saban a lot about this over the years, and he got a lot of this from Bill Belichick, or at least from working with Bill Belichick. It is the journey more than the destination, because that's what on our show with my co-host Ari Wasserman, we were talking about, okay, what represents success, and Ari goes, but is that going to satisfy him? The guy's won Super Bowls, and I'm thinking, I don't think he cares about winning the ACC championship per se, even though that's probably the goal. He cares about the process to get there, and that is what makes him happy. And if that's really, truly what makes him happy, then he'll throw himself into it, and it'll go well. If it is an attempt to get back to the NFL or a I'll show you or anything like that, it will not work. Because you have to work just as hard as a college coach as you do as an NFL coach, and harder in some aspects, because there's a lot of personality management that you have to do in college football that you really don't have to do in the NFL. And that's the part that I think everybody's curious about with Bill Belichick. I mean, he's going to have to talk to 18 to 22-year-olds, connect with them, get them to come play for him. You can't just draft them.
Well, in the NIL world, you could pay for him, though, right? But let me ask about the program. Is North Carolina potentially a sleeping giant?
Oh, Perloff.
I had to ask.
That phrase has been thrown around since Bill Belichick was scouting Lawrence Taylor in 1980.
Yeah.
So now I will say the other school that is always referred to as a sleeping giant is Arizona State, and they're in the playoff this year. So maybe it's possible to wake them up. But North Carolina is one of those, and Michael Lombardi has told this story a bunch of times lately. Michael Lombardi is the guy that Bill Belichick hired to be his GM at North Carolina, former Cleveland Browns GM, radio host. Lots of podcast hosts and radio hosts coming out of the woodwork right now. But Lombardi talks about them going on a scouting trip in 1992 and setting up shop in Chapel Hill and going, how come nobody can win here? Well, some really good people have tried. It's one of those things where they have not necessarily made the commitment to be good at football. You have to really want to be good at football. You have to be all in. Like, to do what Georgia does, to do what Ohio State does, what Alabama does on a year-in, year-out basis, it takes a top-to-bottom commitment to your school. North Carolina has not been that committed to football, ever. Will they be? Well, I looked at Bill Belichick's contract, and I would say that they are much closer with this than they ever have been, because he said he poo-pooed the idea that he gave them a 400-page quote-unquote Bible. But I guarantee you he gave them something that said, here's how my organization is going to look. Here's how everybody gets paid. This is the amount of money we're going to need. And that they agreed to that, because they've got a $13 million salary pool, $10 million for assistants. That's $2.5 million more than they were paying this past year to Mac Brown's assistants. Like, they definitely have stepped up in that regard, and probably had to get him to say yes.
Andy Staples is joining us from On3. He's been covering college football for a long time, knows the sport inside and out, knows all the major players. And we're talking about Bill Belichick in his press conference yesterday. I mean, Andy, it wasn't long ago. In fact, it was last year. They had Drake May, who looks like he's going to be a future star in the NFL on Bill Belichick's old team, the New England Patriots. In terms of what North Carolina will look like this upcoming season with Bill Belichick at the helm, I mean, how good can they get in 1 year? We saw Deion, when he went to Colorado the first year, totally turned the team over, obviously had his son Shador and had Travis Hunter with him as well. But, I mean, how quickly can Belichick work the portal or what have you and get this team ready to compete for an ACC championship?
Well, Deion, it took 2 seasons to get them competitive, and they were competitive down to pretty much the last week of the season in the Big 12 race. But I'll show you an example of how somebody did it faster, and that's Curt Cignetti in Indiana.
Yep.
Curt Cignetti got into Indiana. It was considered a tough job, a program that was a bottom feeder in the Big Ten. They're 11-1. They play at Notre Dame in the college football playoff on Friday night. Like, that is a huge turnaround, really fast, all done through the transfer portal. Now, the difference between Bill Belichick and Curt Cignetti, and this will be the probably only time I have Curt Cignetti ahead on that ledger, but the difference between those two is Curt Cignetti was at James Madison running a really good program, and a lot of the really good players from James Madison followed him to Indiana, so he just sort of hit the ground running with a bunch of guys who already knew how the program worked, how it operated, what the offense and the defense looked like, what the expectations were. And then he went and picked out guys from the transfer portal, like their quarterback, Curtis Rourke, had won a bunch of games at Ohio U. So you got these old guys that have played in a bunch of games, that were good players where they came from, that are mixing in with guys who already know how everything works. That's the recipe to turn things around quickly. That's harder to do when you don't have a base of really good players who've already found success. North Carolina doesn't have that right now. And so you're going to have to try to guess at that chemistry as you bring in people. And you have to do it quick because, I had somebody ask me on a show yesterday, they said, well, they're hitting the ground running. I'm like, no, they're not. He got hired 2 days after the transfer portal opened, which means he's already about 2 months late.
Wow. Yeah, let me ask you a transfer portal question on the other side of Tobacco Road. I saw a lot of you smart college football writers like, what is happening? Why is Malik Murphy leaving Duke, who had a great year last year? They get the number one quarterback in the transfer portal, Darian Mensah, who...
From Tulane.
I got to be honest, I didn't know much about. Got 2 offers, Tulane and Idaho State. Then an agent guy told me the NFL is viewing him as a number one overall pick possible.
Oh, Darian Mensah balled out as
so why is he going to Duke?
Year, so.
Why is he? What is happening here? Like,
because Manny Diaz
can
coach, baby.
What's that?
Manny Diaz can coach. Like they won 9 games at Duke this year.
Are they a potential sleeping giant too? Or is that North Carolina Duke going to be a football rivalry?
The whole of Tobacco Road, all just a bunch of giants lined up. It was Wake Forest, North Carolina, NC State, and Duke. I did that out of order. It would Wake Forest, North Carolina, Duke, NC State. If you're moving from west to east, we'll throw East Carolina in there too if you want to keep driving. But it's interesting because so Mike Elko, who's the current coach at Texas A&M, did a fabulous job at Duke, and then Manny Diaz, who used to be the Miami head coach, I would say got fired unfairly. They decided they wanted to go to Mario Cristobal and basically said, nah, Manny, you're done. Manny goes and is the defensive coordinator at Penn State for a couple of years. Manny has done a great job at Duke. And you knew when he got there that he was going to be all right because it was one of those deals where a bunch of guys had entered the transfer portal. Manny gets the job and they're like, never mind, I'll stay. And they go win 9 games. So, yeah, in this environment where the ACC puts 2 teams in the college football playoff this year, a 9-win Duke, which, by the way, SMU, which is one of those teams in the college football playoff, needed an incredible blocked kick to beat Duke this year. Like, if Duke wins that game, we're having a different conversation about Duke, and Malik Murphy's not in the portal because they might be in the playoffs. So it's a very strange dynamic now. But when Malik Murphy left, you thought, uh-oh, what's going on here? But the fact that the Darian Mensah thing happened so quickly was like, no, I think they had a plan.
Andy Staples joining us from On3. Andy, we're up against, we only have about a minute left, and we've talked a lot about Belichick, but you mentioned playoff games starting this Friday. Next week, it's happening, right? We're here, got Army-Navy this week, and then obviously we get full into this thing. I know you hate picking games. I'm not going to ask you to do that, but if there was
I love picking games.
If there was an upset that you would just say, well, I'm not that surprised, a first-round upset, which one would it be?
Indiana Notre Dame would probably be the one because I mentioned Kirk Cincinnati before. They're going to have everybody exactly in the right places they need to be. Notre Dame has better players. Let's be clear on that. And if Notre Dame plays this best game, they're going to win. And actually, Notre Dame, I think, is stylistically the scarier matchup for Georgia in the next round out of everybody who Georgia could have probably drawn. But if Indiana is just on, and Notre Dame has a slightly off game because Indiana will run the ball down your throat and Indiana will stop your run game, then that would be the one.
Andy, you know where is sleeping giant? Gainesville.
What?
U of F. Sleeping giant. No,
I mean, that giant has he's got narcolepsy because he'll wake up and then he'll walk around for a little while and he'll just go back to sleep. So that's the problem. The narcoleptic giant is the one you really got to worry about.
Where you attended and played, by the way, just so if anyone did not know.
Yeah, Andy, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it. Enjoy. We got a lot of fun stuff upcoming. I know you're keeping an eye on the transfer portal, all that stuff. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate that. All right, we got a lot to do, including we'll react a little to Andy and also our favorite moments from Belichick yesterday. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break.
But wait, hold up, no seat in sight. Her chair is gone this quiet night. Odyssey's finest, infinity's pride. Now Amy's pacing, no place to slide. She scans the room, but it's just air. A burning question, who took my chair? Ooh, who stole Amy's chair? Was it Zach Gell with his innocent stare? Or Ryan Hickey with his towering hair? It's not Pete Bellotti, he's never there. Somebody fess up, who stole Amy's chair? Zach says, hey, I didn't steal, I never mess with Amy's wheels. Ryan's hair is high and proud, but he swears he's innocent, yelling out loud, I got no motive, I'm just tall. His hair almost scrapes the studio wall. But Amy's still standing, no time for lies. Someone's gonna pay, no more alibis. Who stole Amy's chair? Was it Zach Gell with his innocent stare? Or Ryan Hickey with his towering hair? It's not Pete Bellotti, he's never there. Somebody fess up, who stole Amy's chair? The chair is gone, Amy's on fire. Infinity Sports has one desire: to return the throne before the show, or Amy's wrath will surely glow. Who stole Amy's chair? Zach and Ryan, do you even care? Is it hidden under Hickey's hair? Or maybe Gub's got it, he swears, I swear. It's not Pete Bellotti, he's still not there. Somebody fess up, who stole Amy's chair? So if you see a chair on the go, rolling around on some late night show called Infinity Odyssey 2, Amy's coming, and she's looking for you. Amy Lawrence in her power, but wait, hold up.
One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Happy Friday. M&P with you on the Infinity Sports Network. I put up a poll yesterday on my own social media, Pearl, because there were two press conferences that were happening in sports almost at the exact same time yesterday. One was Bill Belichick being introduced as the new head coach of North Carolina. The second was Juan Soto being introduced to the New York Mets. And I put a poll out, who do you think will live up to the hype? Soto, Belichick, neither, or both? And it looks like it's either Soto or bust on this thing, because Soto and neither got the most votes here. What if I gave you those options? What would you say?
Oh, definitely Soto. Because, first of all, there's this reporting that Belichick has an out to go back to the NFL. Like, just to look, Andy Staples knows more college football than anyone I know. When I said North Carolina is a sleeping giant, the look of disdain he gave me.
He laughed.
This is set up to be, they're set up to be 8-3, get everybody all excited, and then not really go anywhere. And even if they make the playoff, by the way, I can't see, if Bill Belichick is the best coach in the world, I can't see North Carolina running through Alabama, Georgia, Notre Dame, and winning a title. So I just don't think like the upside is that high. I can't see him. In my mind, like if Bill Belichick doesn't compete for a title in North Carolina, then it really is not going to amount to that much of a difference.
I'll agree with you. The bar has to be extremely high. It's Bill Belichick. This is not some kind of participation trophy.
Right.
You're bringing him in to put your program on the map in a way that it hasn't been since Lawrence Taylor.
Actually, was Lawrence Taylor's team that good? I don't even.
Wasn't that the last time they won the ACC, right? Wasn't Lawrence Taylor on that team in 1980?
Did they compete for a title? I can't even remember.
No, they won the ACC, but
right.
I don't think they were. Back then, the national champion was just like announced.
The funny thing is they've had two top three quarterbacks, and they've had they've had Julius Peppers, Robert Quinn. They've had great players, but they've never been a good program.
Right, but that's also been very few and far between. I mean, Julius Peppers just got into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and Drake May was last year. So it's you're right. It's just not consistent. Here's the part, though, that I can't get out of my brain. If you had one coach and coaching for your life, would it not be Belichick?
Not anymore, no.
So one coach, we talk about this with quarterbacks all the
for
time.
For one game.
Fun barroom debate, right? Drive for your life. Who do you want quarterbacking? Drive for your life. Free throws for your life if you want to do that in basketball, or shot for your life in basketball.
I'd go with the Andy Reid. I get the whole staff, right?
No, you get the coach. The head coach. The guy making the decision.
I need Andy Reid and I need Steve Spagnuolo. I would go with that. I'd go Andy Reid.
You'd go Andy Reid.
I mean, it's for me, McVay.
But I didn't
Reid,
give you
Mahomes. Shanahan.
I just give you the coach.
Well, you saw the end of Belichick, though. It was the team wasn't even well coached. I don't know. I don't really want Andy Reid. I kind of wanted McVay, but I felt like that would be stupid.
Well, maybe McVay is the answer now.
And maybe
I don't know.
Honestly, because I just saw McVay beat Shanahan last night. If Shanahan had beaten McVay, I might have gone Shanahan.
Stand on business, Pearl.
It's not Shanahan. For me, it's Belichick.
Still?
Because here's the thing. Like you're saying, like last year, the last year with Belichick. Like so many things were wrong there. Like we had Jeff Howe on yesterday who covered that team, the Patriots team, and he said on both sides between Mac Jones and the Patriots, and all of that was so bad. I think a lot of egos in that building. I'm willing to write off that one bad year. Bill Belichick has had and coached some of those fundamentally sound, smartest, toughest teams I've ever seen.
Yeah, a long time ago. I mean, in NFL terms. But let me ask you this.
Got to the playoffs with Mac Jones his rookie year.
Then you must be really surprised that no NFL team wants to hire him.
I was shocked, but I understood that the reality of that is you actually need a coach vacancy and a GM vacancy because that's how much Belichick looms large. And that's hard to find in the NFL when both guys are up or both seats are open, if you will, at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, if he was still the top coach for one game, I think teams would overlook that. I don't think the NFL views him that way anymore. Because once Brady left, I mean, really?
There's a flip side of this, though. Think about these teams that are constantly hiring new coaches, the teams that are always in the market here. We're talking about the Jags and maybe Manny's Giants and, teams the Bears, who you're just every 2.5 years, you're looking for a new coach. These are also teams that make terrible decisions. And this could be another one of passing on Belichick.
I mean, I don't want to be ageist at all, but the age is like, what's the window? What are you going to get, 3 years of Belichick?
Listen, I'll take it over 3 years of Eberflus.
It's just not the way you
what are we doing?
It's not the way you build champions in the NFL. I mean, normally to bring in a 72-year-old coach, Dick Vermeil was older when he won with the Rams, but generally, like, I think if you're an owner, you're like, give me a big plan. I want sustained success. I think that's what's killing Belichick.
Okay, well, how about the Cowboys? You're telling me you wouldn't kill for 3 good years when you have your window with Dak Prescott, you have your window with this roster. Like, you don't need to be the Cowboy coach for 10 years. You need 3 good years.
You're applying ration to a spot that does not really care for that, Maggie. Come on. The Cowboys, Jer.
Let's pass around the Johnny Walker. Maybe the idea will sound a little better. 855-212-4227. Who's got more questions in San Francisco? Kyle Shanahan or Brock Purdy?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
EJ's at the bar with a cold. EJ's at the bar with a cold cheap beer. Says Trae Young's no big deal, don't bring him here. But the Knicks lost again and it's starting to show as he punches the jukebox playing Old Town Road. I'm over Trae, he shouts as he tips his hat, but his phone's buzzing with Hawks game stats. Pickups parked outside, girls waiting to ride, but EJ's renting about Trae instead of his bride. EJ don't care about Trae Young, no way, but he's crying in his beer when the Hawks outplay. Just a small town punk with a lucky streak, but Trae's living rent free every Knicks lost week. EJ's got a shotgun rack and a pickup truck. Trae can't break my spirit, I don't give a. He's got a girl on the side, but she's feeling ignored, cause EJ's busy yelling Trae can't score no more. I'm over him, he growls as the whiskey pours, but he's watching replays from game before. Small town pride, the Knicks fans fight, but Trae's shadow looms in the neon light. EJ don't care about Trae Young, no way, but he's crying in his beer when the Hawks outplay. Just a small town punk with a lucky streak, but Trae's living rent free every Knicks lost week. EJ don't care about Trae Young, no way, but he's crying in his beer when the Hawks outplay. Just a small town punk with a lucky streak, but Trae's living bout revenge Knicks parade day. Get that Hawks kid out of my town, but he's playing Trae's highlights when no one's around. So here's to EJ with his beer and his pride. His girl's in the rear view, but Trae's on his mind. Small town dreams with big Knicks pain, but Trae Young's the thunder in EJ's rain. He's punk with a lucky streak, but Trae Young's the thunder in EJ's rain. EJ's free every Knicks lost week, but Trae's living rent free in EJ's rain. EJ's got a shotgun rack and a pickup truck. Trae can't break my spirit, I don't give a. He's got a girl on the side, but she's feeling ignored, cause EJ's busy yelling Trae can't score no more. Shotgun rack and a pickup truck. Trae can't break my spirit, I don't give a. He's got a girl on the side, but she's feeling ignored, cause EJ's busy yelling Trae can't score no more. EJ's got a shotgun rack and a pickup truck. Trey can't break my spirit, I don't give a. He's got a girl on the side, but she's feeling ignored, cause EJ's busy yelling Trey can't score no more. Pickups in the drive, girls long gone. Trey's crossover plays and EJ's country song. Out in the sticks with his guns and pride, he swears Trey Young's just a bump in the ride. Pickups in the drive, girls long gone. Trey's crossover plays and EJ's country song. Out in the sticks with his guns and pride, he swears Trey Young's just a bump in the ride. EJ don't care about Trey Young, no way, but he's dreaming about revenge on a Knicks parade day. Get that Hawks kid out of my town, but he's playing Trey's highlights when no one's around. So here's to EJ with his beer and his pride. His girl's in the rear view, but Trey's on his mind. Small town dreams with Big Nick's pain, but Trey Young's the thunder in EJ's rain.
Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
No timeouts for the 49ers. 3 receivers right, single man left. Purdy gets the snap. Back to pass. Rush coming. Purdy steps up. Grabbed around the ankles. Purdy is sacked and the game is over. The Rams have won the game. A sack of Brock Purdy ends it.
Thank you to Ryan Radke. Westwood won. Would have been tough, under a minute, no timeouts, need a touchdown, but still a prayer if Brock Purdy had been able to get the ball to Ricky Pearsall for a big gain, and then maybe you set yourself up for the Hail Mary. They didn't even get in a final attempt. Just all around bad last night for the 49ers.
They were at midfield, and everybody watching knew that Purdy couldn't reach the end zone from there, which is not a great sign.
Yeah, and you actually got signs of life from Deebo Samuel on that kick return. He's deep into the end zone, but realizes his team needs like a major play. Has this big return and then gets horse collar tackle, which tacks on another 15 yards, which kind of gave a little bit of a prayer. But to be honest, San Francisco didn't deserve to win that game, and they didn't. They lost 12-6, and now there's major question marks, we think, about the future of Brock Purdy in San Francisco and possibly Kyle Shanahan.
Well, you have questions about Kyle Shanahan.
I do.
Others do, but I have no questions about Kyle Shanahan. The Purdy contract is crazy because we saw the two big weaknesses. He's not a cold weather quarterback. He's not a rainy weather quarterback. And
or
when
cold,
you get
that Bills game, remember all the snow?
And you get pressure on him.
They lost
it's a problem.
35-10.
Like you saw a tip pass last night. The Rams got so much pressure on him. We had a caller who mentioned if you blitz him, it's kind of an adventure. The thing about him, too, he's had to move around so much in the pocket this year because Trent Williams has been out, his left tackle. It's just like everything that could go wrong with him did go wrong. Then he was awesome last week against Chicago, so you thought maybe they turned it around. Not so much. A little bit of rain killed them yesterday. I don't know what to do. I think it's so frustrating for teams that there's no middle market for quarterbacks that the Niners are in a really tough spot with this contract.
Absolutely, because you can't give him the Daniel Jones 2 years, $80 million, right?
You could try. Why not?
Because he's had a lot more success than Daniel Jones. And I know this season has been bad, but if you're going to bail out Kyle Shanahan and say, oh, it's because of the injuries, don't you have to apply the same logic to Purdy? It's a guy who was right there in Philadelphia against your Eagles a couple of years ago, the NFC Championship game. He got hurt. And then last year, overtime of the Super Bowl, Daniel Jones hasn't sniffed anything like that. Baker Mayfield hasn't sniffed anything like that. So you got to pay him more than those guys.
Well, I mean, listen, the Niners easily gave up on Jimmy Garoppolo, even though he took them to within inches of a Super Bowl title. So Kyle Shanahan falls in and out of love quickly, too. He basically gave up on Trey Lance in about 3 minutes once he saw Brock Purdy practicing. I think Shanahan is really, he's really prickly about quarterbacks, and I know he loves Brock Purdy, but again, you never would have thought it was. They would love Jimmy G. Like Jimmy G was such a great trade and such a great signing, and then when it started to go south, it went south really quickly. So I'm very, very curious, especially look at this year's offseason. Like, there's a chance that Atlanta doesn't want Kirk Cousins anymore. There's a chance the Jets don't want Aaron Rodgers anymore. And Sam Darnold's going to be a free agent. Those are three guys Shanahan has flirted with his whole life. He had Darnold. He loves Cousins. And Rodgers and him almost got together in 21, apparently. I think that this is going to be very interesting because Kyle Shanahan's going to look around and say, like, wow, I don't know if I love him as much as I did 4 months ago.
Yeah, see, but I think you're taking a risk with an older Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles. Kirk's been terrible over the last few weeks. Like, this could be the end of Kirk Cousins.
Well, who's the guy who told us there was a Kirk Cousins cult among NFL coaches?
It was Diana Rossini.
Right.
The cult of Kirk.
Who leads that? It's Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan.
Well, I mean, I don't know. They might be looking for a new cult leader because
he has a younger, shorter, less, even lower draft pick version of Kirk Cousins right now in Brock Purdy.
And the other part is they have Sam Darnold. It might be out there if the Vikings decide to move on, but they had Sam Darnold in their building, and he was still Purdy's backup.
Well, yeah, and also Sam Darnold costs at least $40 million, so I think they're more likely to re-sign their own guy than pay up big bucks for Sam Darnold.
I think, though, the idea that there's absolutely no questions about Kyle Shanahan, and I'm not saying because the ownership would say, that's it, you're fired. I'm just wondering if the two almost come together and say, like, have we gone as far as we can go together?
But why would Shanahan say that? Like, where does Shanahan want to go?
I'm not sure. But I haven't thought that part out yet. But this has just been an all-time bad season. And whether you care about vibes or you don't care about vibes, it was the combination of the injuries and also, I think, some mismanagement. And whether you want to put it on Shanahan, you can put it on Lynch, you could put it on the ownership, you can dole out the blame however you want. But it was bad and off from the start. And it goes back to the Super Bowl, and we all know it. And to have that moment and be right there, to have the ball in overtime, and then not understanding the rules fully, which we still don't know if that played a part into this at all with the new overtime rules, or just the decision to kick that field goal, and you give the ball to Patrick Mahomes in overtime where he needs a touchdown to win it, what do you think's going to happen? And I just think sometimes, like we saw this with the Seahawks many years ago with Malcolm Butler at the goal line, it was really hard for them to get over that. And then add on the injuries, and then add on the personal stuff of terrible things happening off the field with people's families, like multiple issues with players' children, which is always the most horrific thing. Ricky Pearsall getting held up in broad daylight, getting shot. He survived, so that's a happy, outcome. Just you add all of it on top, and it just felt like too much for them to overcome.
Yeah, I think behind the scenes they're going to say, well, and I know you disagree with this, same thing happened in 2020. Bosa went down, tore his ACL, I think, in week 2, and then Jimmy G got hurt, and they were like, forget it. We'll just remember my guy Nick Mullins was the quarterback. It was one of my favorite super fun teams, hung in there. But I think they're going to say, hey, we were back immediately after that. And I mean, listen, you're an owner or you're a coach or anything, like you're going to talk yourself into this can work. That's what everybody does. And there's certainly, it's not a stretch to say, okay, we get these guys back, we'll be fine next year. It's certainly, I think that's the straightest, most logical path.
Right. And maybe you just need a nice long off season for everyone to heal and everything. But you do have this big Purdy decision.
That's the one. See, to me, that's a big controversy. I'm not worried about, and I'm not saying you're totally wrong because you do have a good instinct for these things. I'm not worried about Shanahan. I am very worried about, like, they can't pay him $60 million over 4 years. That just seems ridiculous.
I'm sorry, but you also said the same thing about Ayuk. You're like, they can't pay him $30 million, and he got 31.
Well, you know what happened? All the GMs panicked when they saw all these huge dollars going to wide receivers. They're like, they had no interest in paying Ayuk for most of the offseason. Then, like, look at, like, Devontae Smith. I can't remember who got paid. Like somebody who was like just average got $28 million a year, and the price tags went way up. So I think they panicked on that move. I think, again, you're in a tough spot. Ayuk's a young player. You're not going to let him go. So it's very difficult. I think they missed on Pearsall a little bit. If they had taken Ladd McConkey instead, or maybe was Leggett there? Yeah, like there were other options at receiver. I'm not sure they made the right call. And the truth is they need to rebuild their lines too. Like, stop taking receivers Let's focus on the defensive line and offensive line.
I mean, for a team that has a lot of talent, you just named a lot of things that need to get resolved this offseason. If you're talking about both lines, you're talking about the quarterback, you're talking about some major skill position players.
Right, but I mean
this is a tall task for a team that's like only a couple injuries away.
Yeah, but you also I name a defense that has Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Travaris Ward, and Diamondor Lenore coming back, and name an offense that has McCaffrey. I know Kittle's coming back. Ayuk, and probably Trent Williams. He's old, but old left tackles are really good sometimes. So I mean, Andrew Whitworth was killing it until he was 40. So I don't. There's a ton of talent coming back. I mean, name teams. There's very few teams that have that many Pro Bowlers coming back.
Yeah, and you know what? Things derail seasons, like injuries, as we saw this year, and also things can break up teams that have lots of expectations, which is everyone wants to get paid and everyone wants theirs, which I totally get, especially in a sport this brutal, and also the weight of it. And like, it's just, you saw last night, and this is almost like a microcosm, I think, of a lot of things that have gone wrong for the 49ers. You had someone quit last night during the game. Devondre Campbell, who was a free agent who came over from the Packers, decided last night because Dre Greenlaw came back, very triumphant moment for him, but Devondre Campbell got knocked down to third string, and when the guy in front of him actually got hurt in the game and he needed to go in the third quarter, he told everybody to go screw. He walked off the field. Let's hear from Kyle Shanahan about that moment, Devondre Campbell deciding not to play last night.
What happened with Devondre Campbell? He didn't play and he went into the locker room at some point?
Yeah, he said he didn't want to play today.
Play today?
Yep.
The coaching staff?
He did when I asked him why he didn't want to go in. So.
During the game or before?
No, that was in the third quarter.
I mean, here's George Kittle. So the offensive side of the ball, generally guys don't even like to comment on any teammate, let alone one that's not even on their side of the ball. Here's Kittle disappointed that Campbell walked off the field.
That doesn't make our offense look at each other and be like, wow, man, we're falling apart. It's more of we're like the defense, hey, we're falling apart. It's more of one person making like Mooney said, a selfish decision, and I'm with Mooney on that. And I've never been around anybody that's ever done that, and I hope I'm never around anybody that does that again.
How many more data points do we need to know that show just how bad things have gotten here? And I don't think you can ever fully let the coach off the hook for that because, listen, this is one guy and he could be having a bad moment or a bad apple or whatever, and he made a bad decision last night, no doubt. But I just ask you, would anyone have done this with Dan Campbell? I just don't think they would. And I don't think that's too high of a bar for Kyle Shanahan. He's thought of as one of the greatest coaches in the league. You just had a player quit on you. And again, maybe it's just the player, but it just feels like everything fell apart this year.
I hear what you're saying, but if the Lions had half the injuries that the Niners had, they would also be 6-8. To me, like the takeaway from last night was Al Michaels said it. There was when Dre Greenlaw came out. I mean, did he make the first 9 tackles of the game, or was it just me? And Al Michaels said the Niners fans must be frustrated watching this, thinking, "Oh my God, what if we had this team all year long?" And the truth is, they just didn't. And then by the third quarter, Dre Greenlaw looked like he should be in the hospital. I mean, that was ridiculous. And Bosa kind of ran out of steam too. I guess maybe they changed the blocking patterns, but I just think that. It's just so hard to judge this team. And I think poor Devondre Campbell picked the wrong day to not go into the game because their season just ended. I feel like he's a bit of a scapegoat here for a frustrating season.
I thought you were going with an airplane reference there.
Yeah.
Pick the wrong day to stop sniffing glue.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like he's clearly like they need somebody to yell at, so everyone's picking Devondre Campbell. And when Kittle yells at you, I mean, he's the nicest guy in the NFL. He loves everybody. That's a bad sign. I actually, this is the best thing that could happen. Shut down Bosa for the rest of the season. Bring it all back next year, and you're fine.
We have a poll question up at Maggie and Pearl on X. Whose future with the 49ers is more in jeopardy? Brock Purdy, air quotes, winning that poll, 69 to 31% over Kyle Shanahan.
This is a gritty team. It's a salty team.
Not on the offense last night.
I was amazed that Greenlaw came out like there was no wear and tear from his injury. Like he looked like, oh my God, he looked like a hornet who you just stirred out of the nest. That was kind of awesome. And another thing, going back to Alan Kirk, they said that Shanahan told him he is the key to the entire defense. I was like, whoa. Then does that not explain everything that's happened this year?
It was a major loss. Definitely was. I mean, to tear your Achilles in the Super Bowl.
It's just weird because you think of Fred Warner as the big star of the linebacker core, but if Shanahan said that to him, then that kind of explains a lot of what happened this year defensively because they're okay, but they're not like nasty.
855-212-4227. All right, so we're asking some tough questions about the 49ers this morning. Coming up next, we'll turn our attention to making a little money. Our pal Nick Kostos from You Better You Bet joins the show next. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break.
There's a man you should know, Kevin Lamelli puts on quite a show. 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, with your squats in a row. A workout machine, he's got that morning glow. Kevin Lamelli, breakfast king. Exact time, hear the sun sing. Sometimes it's oatmeal, he's keeping it clean. But every single morning he's living the dream. He tunes into Maggie and Perloff on YouTube each day. Comments rolling in, got plenty to say. But there's one thing missing, it's becoming a trend. Where's Manny at? Didn't he just begin? Like his mentor Belichick, he's coasting the crew. Consistently MIA, what's a viewer to do? Kevin Lambo, breakfast king. That exact time, hear the syrup sing. Sometimes it's oatmeal, he's keeping it clean. But every single morning he's living the dream. Tunes into Maggie and Perloff on YouTube each day. Comments rolling in, got plenty to say. But there's one thing missing, it's becoming a trend. Where's Manny at? Didn't he just begin? Like his mentor Belichick, he's ghosting the crew. Consistently MIA, what's a viewer to do? Down in San Antonio, the tacos are divine. Kevin's chowing down, Wemby's right there in line. He says, Perloff, come join us while we all know the score. Andrew hits on drives, he ain't leaving his door. Tacos and Wemby, it's a Texan delight. But Perloff won't show, not even for a bite. Wheelchair squats, he makes it look easy. Breaking a sweat, while others stay breezy. Meanwhile, Manny's got a new full-time gig. But missing work like Peter, it's getting big. Remember breakfast king. That exact time, hear the syrup sing. Sometimes it's oatmeal, he's keeping it clean. But every single morning he's living the dream. So raise your fork to Kevin, the man of the hour. With tacos and pancakes, he's got all the power. San Antonio's hero, he's making life sweet. With Wemby on deck and a table of treats. And Perloff, stay home, you'll never make the drive. But Kevin's out here living large and alive.
One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie and Perloff Show. Been talking a lot about the demise of the San Francisco 49ers, but meanwhile, this young Rams defense has to be sort of the talk of the NFL, because if the offense can hang on and be elite for a few more years, they have somehow drafted crazy good on defense. Not great English there, but I don't know where these linemen come from. They were torturing the Niners last night.
They were. They've all come together. Now it's a team that's going to be obviously fighting for the division, let alone that last wild card spot. The one thing about last night I feel like no one is talking about, and not us until this moment, to be fair, is Matthew Stafford on a quarterback sneak last night. Rams win, by the way, 12-6, game with no touchdowns. But he's going for the end zone, and it did look pretty open, so I'm not going to lie. I understood, even though Matthew Stafford hasn't had a rushing touchdown in 8 years. He sees daylight, he goes for it, and Perloff, he gets stopped at the goal line, and he got crushed. And, it's Matthew Stafford. He always gets back up. He's one of the toughest quarterbacks in the league. But he seemed to be favoring a little bit his, right side, I think. It seemed like ribs got turned to dust on that play, is what I'm suggesting.
Gotcha. I mean, obviously it didn't affect him last night because they started throwing the ball late, effectively. Once the ball dried out. The last drive, it was funny. They came out and you figured they would run the ball away, and what they did was they actually threw it, and it was great. So maybe it was adrenaline, but if I would take the Stafford at the end of the game, they have a 10-day rest, and then they go to the Jets, which is actually, believe it or not, a tricky game for them, because remember last year they were on that great run? They almost lost to the Giants in the same exact position last year and killed their playoff chances. They need to get to the playoffs. Because remember last year, they were right there with Detroit.
Absolutely.
So I think they're a very, very interesting team if they get there. But that's a big if.
That was a great game, the Matthew Stafford return to Detroit game. Let's hear Stafford talking about his taking that big hit last night.
Yeah, body, we'll figure that out later. I'm not worried about it. I got 10 days. It's December, our season's on the line every single week. We go out there. It was going to be tough to throw the football in the long run, and they also clouded the concept and did a nice job of covering it up. So at that point, it was time to go.
I love this. The bones that protect all of my vital organs, we'll figure that out. We'll figure out what to do with that.
I mean, he's Matthew Stafford. That dude has been hurt probably 16,000 times in his NFL career.
I know. And again, they're lucky actually that this is coming at the right time. But why is anyone either calling a design run for Matthew Stafford, or why is he even trying to attempt a quarterback run? And then later actually did a quarterback sneak, which I was a little surprised about. All right, let's turn to our pal Nick Kostos. He's the host of You Better You Bet. Let's try to win some money. Nick, do I have to start with a bit of a mea culpa? Should we do this at the end of the segment?
What, for the Bills-Rams game last week? You're good. I won my money. That's all I needed. No problem.
It was your upset pick of the week, but there was a very specific thing you said to me, which was if the Bills meet the Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl, the Bills will lose, and it will be because Sean McDermott gets out-coached by Dan Campbell. And I said, no, Nick, that's crazy. It's going to come down to Josh Allen versus Jared Goff. And then, of course, what happens? Sean McDermott goes out and has one of the lamest, dumbest, most terrible end-of-game decisions possible, spoils a Bills comeback. Oh, boy.
Yeah, almost like he's not a great coach.
I can't go that far, but
and he's not trustworthy.
The end of game decisions are just there. It's been happening far too long, far too often. He's got to know better.
Well, I think there is a way the Bills can win the Super Bowl this year, right? Things just have to break right for them. But, my opinion is I'll hold to this. I think Josh Allen will definitely win a Super Bowl in his career, but it won't be with Sean McDermott as the head coach. They should have moved on from him after last year. And by the way, this game against the Lions on Sunday, I think the point spread's fair, right? Detroit 2.5-point favorite in the game. I think Detroit's better than Buffalo, but Detroit obviously has tons of injuries, which gets us to this point spread a little less than 3. I'm going to bet the Lions in the game because I feel like at the end of the game, and Allen's the best player on the field. Josh Allen's much better than Jared Goff. There's no question. But when it comes down to it, I trust Dan. I don't know if Perloff agrees with this. I trust Dan Campbell way more in a big spot than I trust Sean McDermott. And also, at what point does Sean McDermott, this great defensive guru, say, Puka Nacua has 19 third down conversions in this game. Maybe we should double him here. What do people think is going to happen with Ben Johnson now against this Bills defense on Sunday? It's not just Dan Campbell versus Sean McDermott. It's Ben Johnson versus Sean McDermott. Now, I do think that Joe Brady can win the battle against Aaron Glenn because Joe Brady has Josh Allen. So we'll definitely get points in this game. I do think the Lions will win at the end.
Nick, did you see ESPN's Teddy Bruschi go on a huge rant against Dan Campbell saying, you're the best team in the league. Stop playing like a plucky underdog and keep on going for it on fourth down. I agree with this, and I know you don't agree, but the Lions are a better team than the Philadelphia Eagles. There's no doubt about it, in my opinion. The only thing that gives me hope is that they will make a silly fourth down call in their own territory and let the Eagles back in it because the Lions' offense they're just better. So I feel like if they just go out there mano a mano with the Bills this weekend or with the Eagles, they will beat them. But if they start doing tricky things, then maybe it evens it out or at least adds to the risk that they'll play down to an opponent.
Well, Perloff, I would say, the good news for the Eagles is that they have a super conservative coach who never makes wacky decisions. Who couldn't possibly do the same thing. Who couldn't possibly do the same thing.
Well,
I mean, at least Dan Campbell is working, and I don't want to bang on Nick Sirianni too much because they're winning a million games. He can't be a bad coach. I have to take the L on this one. If they're going to be 11-2 and they're going to go to the playoffs every year. But yeah, I mean, Campbell over Sirianni 100 times out of 100 for me in those big game spots. Not even close. Not even close.
I have. But honestly, you're opening the door for Nick Sirianni by coaching like Nick Sirianni.
Well, my question for Nick is actually turning to this weekend when you have the Eagles and the Steelers, because I thought this point spread is a little suspect to me. Sus, as the kids would say, Nick. 5.5.
Yes, they do say that.
5.5. I feel like this is begging me to take the points with the Steelers.
Well, what you should do then is go the other way and lay the points with the Eagles. I think Philly should smash them in the game. Now, we don't know for sure if George Pickens is going to play, right? That has not been, nothing has been official there. I haven't really, looked a ton this morning, but I'm going to do a quick search here. We don't think George Pickens is going to play in this game, right? So let's say Pickens does not play.
Right.
It's one thing for the Steelers to get away with that like they did last week against Cleveland. And to be fair, I bet the Steelers last week against the Browns. And they covered. I watched the game. Dustin Hopkins for Cleveland missed 2 makeable field goals. The Browns easily could have kept that game super close and covered. So I bet the Steelers, and I'm saying that. I feel like I got lucky to cover. I don't think Pittsburgh can get away with that this week against the Eagles. And I think a couple things are true. And Perloff, you're a big Eagles guy, right? So they won on Sunday. They won.
Sort
they beat
of.
Carolina. They won. No. They won. They won the game. They got to win. Everyone's acting like they lost. Crazy to me. I look at that as maybe Carolina's a little better than we think, and that sort of thing happens from time to time. Then there's the Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown rift, which I 100% believe is a thing, but I would also say, doesn't matter that these two guys may not like each other. I got to tell you, I dislike a lot of people I work with, and I guarantee a lot of them dislike me. But guess what? We show up to work and we do a good job every day. That's what professionals do. I don't think any of this stuff matters. Eagles defense, best unit on the field. I think Philly wins, and Philly wins big.
Do you think there's this narrative out there that Pittsburgh's good against the run? Do you think that the Philly's going to push A.J. Brown this game instead of Saquon Barkley?
So for props, you think? Yeah. I think A.J. Brown is 5.5 receptions as his prop this weekend.
Well, I would say this, like the Eagles have a really concentrated offense. And like, look, last week's game plan was a little weird, right? With Brown only going 4 for 43 on 4 targets. Yeah, like the squeaky wheel generally gets the grease. This is how it works with diva wide receivers in the NFL. So you would imagine that that's going to be the case here. But I mean, I don't think it's a case of, one or the other, right? It's either A.J. Brown or Saquon Barkley. Like 3 players on the offense touch the ball, 4 including the quarterback. It's like Hurts, Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, right? It's one of the reasons why this offense is so electric, right? Why it's so awesome. So, yeah, like I think A.J. Brown, they will make more of an effort to get him the ball. And by the way, the last time the Eagles played the Steelers a couple of years ago, A.J. Brown went nuclear, 3 touchdowns down the field on this Pittsburgh secondary. Yeah, I really like the Eagles a lot in this
Nick,
game.
does that mean like Saquon? I'm thinking Saquon Barkley gets a little less yards moving forward and really wraps up the MVP for Josh Allen. Do you think Saquon, they'll keep feeding him and he can make a run at Josh Allen for MVP? Or
well, so let's look at it this way, right? So I'll ask you this question. Right now, so Bills lost on Sunday. Josh Allen became more of a favorite to win MVP, which I understand. Like I think Mahomes is better than him, but Allen's been the best player in the league this year. So right now, Allen's minus 450, Saquon's plus 400. Betting market says Bills more likely to lose than win this weekend. Eagles more likely to win than lose. Okay. This would mean 2 straight losses for Buffalo, right? Kansas City is more likely to win than lose. 4-point favorite on the road in Cleveland. If Kansas City wins and Buffalo loses, like Buffalo's like likely out for the 1 seed. Can't happen. Not, I don't think 100% because they have the head-to-head tiebreaker, but very likely not going to happen. So the Eagles would then be 12-2. Let's say Saquon has a $120 or more in the game. What do you think MVP looks like on Monday morning?
I think it's a lot closer.
Okay, so think about that. This is what like mathematically is the most likely scenario. It doesn't mean that has to be what it is. The Bills can win, the Eagles can lose. All of these things can happen. But right now, like the betting market says, Philly's more likely to win than lose. Buffalo's more likely to lose than win. Kansas City's more likely to win than lose. If all 3 of those things happen, like that's the favorite. What's MVP look like on Monday morning? So I think Allen's still the favorite, to be fair. I think it's a lot closer, and it opens the door where if Saquon breaks the rushing record and the Eagles go 15-2, I think Saquon can win MVP.
And it would be one of the all-time snubs.
Maggie,
Nick Kostos is joining us from You Better You Bet. No, I have my own thoughts on this.
Yeah, Maggie, you're going to let him say that about Josh Allen?
It's not even that. It's just...
Say what? I stated a bunch of facts. Like, it wasn't even opinion.
It's not about that. It's just, you said it. The Bills lost and Josh Allen became more of a favorite.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Right. So why wouldn't the same thing happen even if they lose by 2.5 or they lose by 3 on a last-second field goal by Detroit and Josh Allen is another amazing play? Like, the wins and losses, I think, don't even matter at this point because...
You don't think so?
I really don't. But
you don't think if they lose this game and then lose 1 of 3 down the stretch to the Patriots or Jets, there's no way he's going to win if that happens.
But I think it depends how it looks because it depended how it looked in the Rams game. And you just said that. So here's another question, though, for you, Nick, as we have just a few more minutes with Nick Kostos, the host of You Better You Bet. Let's try to win some moolah. Packers at the Seahawks. We're talking about teams with and games with lots of playoff implications here for seeding and such. Right now, the Packers on the road are a 2.5-point favorite in this game. The total 45.5. How would you bet this game?
Yeah, it's a really fun one. And we see split action this week on this game. So every time Green Bay gets bet up to 3, they get bet back down to 2.5. So clearly there's like a difference of opinion here where some people think Green Bay should be a 3-point favorite. Others think Green Bay should be a little less than 3. For people out there that are like, this seems like, why are people arguing about this? Because 3 is the most important number. So it's a huge inflection point where this point spread ends up. I'm one of the people that thinks the Packers should be a 3-point favorite in the game.
Gotcha.
Like everyone's like the stats out there now. Green Bay's 4 losses this year, twice to Detroit, once to Green Bay, once to Minnesota, are against teams with massive 1-loss records, and all the games have been close. Now Seattle's on a really nice run right now. That they've been awesome. Currently find themselves at 8-5, 4 straight wins, first place in the NFC West. By the way, Week 18, Sunday Night Football, I think the favorite is going to be Seahawks at Rams for the NFC West title, is my guess now, for the Week 18 final game of the regular season. I'd like to see, and this is where, I put my money down, and if I'm wrong, I say, you know what? You showed me. I'll pay to have the Seahawks show me that they can do this against a really great team. At minus 2.5, I really like Green Bay. And I say this on your show sometimes, right? Just to people out there that want to bet. If you like the Packers, you don't have to agree with me. But if you do, lay -2.5. If you like Seattle, please bet +3, not +2.5.
Nick, what about teams that might not have incentive to win this weekend? Your Giants, 16-point underdogs. The Raiders play one of the 2 Monday night games. How do you view teams that don't have any motivation? Do you tend to think like a bunch of teams around the league are going to kind of lay down this weekend?
I think we're maybe a little too early for that. Like week 18 is always like the really, really, really wacky week, which I actually think, like I hate when you'll hear people say, oh, you can't bet week 18. Really? Like that's like saying you can't bet the preseason. You absolutely can. Week 18 is a great week to bet. I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. So we approach these things, Perloff, individual puzzle pieces that need to be solved. I think the Giants point spread, there should be a 2 instead of a 1 next to Baltimore.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the Giants won't win a home game this year. #Giants100. What a great celebration of 100 years of Giants football. What a great season. You know what they should do? I'm being serious. Instead of having people come to watch the game, they should show Super Bowl 35 against the Ravens on the Jumbotron. Don't even play the game. Forfeit. Let the Ravens win. Let no one get hurt. I don't even know what number I would need to bet the Giants. Ravens or nothing.
Wait,
the Giants have broken all power ratings and like point spread creations where I made a spread for this game. It's like 14. So technically, like I should bet the Giants. I would never do it ever in a million years, Perloff.
Related question. The Ravens, I think, are one of the teams that have the 11 games in 3 days. Do the Ravens in the second half pull out their starters and let the Giants creep back in and cover? Are you looking at that schedule thing as something that's going to affect games coming up the Christmas Day schedule for a bunch of teams where they have to play 3 games at a very short window?
Yeah, it's the Ravens, the Texans, the Steelers, and the Chiefs who will play on Saturday the 21st and then again on Christmas Day and then obviously coming up this Sunday. I mean, it depends, right? Like how much are they up by in the second half? Can the Giants feasibly come back? Like that's really what it's going to be. Is it like a 3-score game or more at the end? But the assumption that you're making is that if the Ravens pull their starters like Tommy DeVito and the Giants are going to be able to score. I don't know if I agree with that assumption. And just on the Raiders, because you mentioned them, they play Monday night against the Falcons. It's the Desmond Ridder Bowl. Like I can't believe this guy's back. He's going to screw Brock Bowers, Offensive Rookie of the Year. But the Raiders have gotten bet because Kirk Cousins has been so bad as of late. I can never bet the Raiders are probably the right side in the game, quote unquote. I'm not betting Desmond Ridder. I'm just going to bet the Vikings on Monday night in the first game and be done with it.
All right, Nick, we ask you every week for an upset pick of the week. I don't know if you want to go North Carolina football futures for any of this stuff with Bill Belichick taking over, but your upset pick of the week has been a winner. What do you have for us?
Yeah, well, here's a prediction for everybody. I could be wrong about this stuff. I'm pretty confident that I'm going to be right. Well, how about... This is a little bit of a long shot prediction. I think that 365 days from now, we'll be talking about North Carolina getting ready for a college football playoff game next year. Year 1 with Bill Belichick in Chapel Hill. That would be, I think they're going to be awesome immediately, North Carolina. I'm going to be rooting for them to show the NFL how stupid it is for letting the greatest coach of all time leave. Upset special for this week. So like a couple here. We could go with Indianapolis on the road in Denver. We'll pass on that. I think the Patriots are live to beat Arizona, but we can pass on that one also. So let's arrive at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road at the LA Chargers, where Justin Herbert is dealing with what I believe to be a high ankle sprain based off all the information I can gather. I'm not reporting that. That is my opinion. We'll find out more coming up on Sunday. I think his mobility will be restricted, and I think the Bucs are going to be able to score on that defense. Fire the cannons. Tampa wins outright this week on the road at the Chargers.
Wow. Yeah, they don't bring the cannons on the road, do they?
They should.
Get the tractor trailer going across country just for the cannons.
Yeah.
I can just
get
see
the drones
from
New Jersey to bring the cannons to bring the cannons to LA.
Everyone's obsessed with the drones.
I have to tell you, I don't care about it at all. But like it's a little weird.
How can you not care about it? We're clearly being prepped for either an alien invasion or a foreign invasion. It seems pretty obvious.
Because I can't stop anything from happening, and so I live in my little bubble. Like the biggest story in my world is that Bill Belichick's the coach of the Tar Heels, and I like my world.
Well, Nick, you don't know this, but Perloff is secretly a doomsday prepper.
No, she's joking, but
seems
yes,
like a healthy way. Seems like a healthy way to live. Yeah.
He's already
really healthy.
He has already created his route from New York City to Vermont that he can get to via bicycle.
So what's the
city bike? Yeah.
So, like, what's the that'll blow up before you get there.
Yeah.
What's the doomsday scenario in your head that you're thinking? Like, what's going to happen?
No, he just like preps for whether it's zombie, apocalypse, or some foreign country.
How much time you think about this?
Well, you're saying if there's a nuclear bomb, I'm going down in the first wave. So that's not. I don't know. Like
no, I'm saying if you're going to ride a city bike to Vermont, the city bike's going to blow up with the lithium battery. You're going to blow up.
No, I'll do the manual city bike.
Oh, okay.
By the way, what's more unrealistic, prepping for a doomsday or thinking North Carolina football is going to be elite? I mean,
maybe both. Maybe both are pretty unrealistic.
There's two, talking about a sign of the apocalypse. You're talking about a program that's had more first-round picks and violations than wins. So this is a long stretch.
Well, can I ask you a question on North Carolina?
Yeah.
Do you guys agree with the assertion that everybody makes that college football basically now is like the NFL?
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, yeah.
Okay, and then they hired the greatest NFL head coach ever. I win the argument.
But this greatest NFL head coach, even the Jags were like, no thanks. You're saying you and Maggie are both smarter than the rest of the NFL. You guys are just...
No, I would say that you are making an incorrect assumption, Perloff, that people in power are intelligent, where I know you know better as a successful person that there are many people in power, probably the majority of people in power, including our industry, are brain dead. So, I mean, the assumption that, this NFL team passed on Belichick must suck, or maybe they're just dumb, or they're threatened by Belichick and his success. Like, maybe it could be that too.
I think it was self-preservation. I'm with you on that. You needed a place where the coach and the GM were both going to be open. Those spots were both going to be open because Bill brings a lot with him, right? And that's threading a needle that just really didn't exist right now. I'm with Nick on this one.
Owners want to win the Super Bowl. Like, that is like, you're telling me there's not one owner who could, but I don't think people think he's got his fastball anymore.
We're going to see.
Well, yeah. I think when Robert Kraft calls Arthur Blank and says, hey, don't do this, I think it carries weight. And he's a massive hater, and he's delusional.
Well, he's got that documentary.
Yeah, by the way, Atlanta
he
Falcons
commissioned the documentary to tear down,
Yeah.
you think that guy's normal? You think his brain's working correctly? Like, let's do a 9-part documentary to tear down the legacy of the coach that won me 6 Super Bowls. Like, you think that guy's got his head screwed on straight?
Who cares? I mean, the Atlanta Falcons are the North Carolina football of the NFL. Like, where would that have gone with Belichick? They'd be 7-10.
How's it going this year? 4 straight losses. You think if Belichick were the coach and the shadow GM, they would have signed Kirk Cousins to a $100 million deal and then drafted Michael Penix? This makes sense to anybody? Anyone? Anybody think any of that makes any sense?
Honestly,
yeah, they're smart.
If I'm
That's
running a
smart
franchise, I'm
organization.
going tight end, wide receiver, running back in the top 10 3 years in a row.
Honestly, here's the thing, right? Drake London and Bijan Robinson are actually good players. Kyle Pitts is one of the worst tight ends in the league. They drafted him 4th overall, but yeah, that GM's great. Yeah, they hired Arthur Smith. Yeah, these people know what they're doing. That's great.
Who
That's
didn't even
awesome.
want the North Carolina job?
But the other part that's hilarious is I think that you want to talk about what would happen first, the apocalypse or Bill Belichick giving a no-trade clause. Like, that would never have happened, even if he did sign Kirk Cousins. There's no trade clauses happening in Bill Belichick's world.
Yeah. And now the Falcons are up against it. I bet you wish they had hired Bill Belichick. And that's not even shade to Raheem Morris. I'm just saying, 6-7. Doesn't look like they're going to make the playoffs now. Just saying.
Nick, thank you as always. Love talking with you, and we'll see if your upset pick hits again. You've been on a heater.
Yeah, fire the cannons. Wishing everyone minimal sweats, winning bets, the absolute very best of luck. Perloff, I don't know, dude. Watch the Great British Baking Show on Netflix or something. Enjoy yourself, man. Smile a little bit.
Whatever, dude.
Forget about
Look
the
out your
apocalypse.
window. Look out your window. There's a drone staring at you right now, Nick.
That's cool. Honestly, it doesn't impact my life at all.
Man, no, Perloff only watches Surviving Alaska, Surviving the Apocalypse, Surviving the End of Time. It's a theme. It's a theme. It's a trend. Nick, thank you. Appreciate it.
Peace.
Okay, lots more to do. See you guys on the phones. You want to weigh in on the 49ers. More questions about Kyle Shanahan moving forward or Brock Purdy. We've got that for you next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Thanks again to Nick Kostos, who joins us every week around 8:20 Eastern Time from You Better You Bet. Andrew Bogusch has headlines for us on a very busy Friday.
Good morning again, guys. These headlines are sponsored by GoodRx. For simple, smart savings on your prescriptions, go to GoodRx.com or download the free GoodRx app. In a season full of struggling kickers, the Rams are lucky to have Joshua Carty.
And he's got the most beautiful name. I never realized. Joshua. Oh, Josh. Ooh-ah. Joshua.
Carty kicked 4 field goals on a soggy Thursday Night Football. You get nothing on a Friends reference? Just Manny pumping his fist?
I don't know.
Manny just mouthed that like word for word.
I'm a huge fan of Friends. I've watched it 4 or 5 times, which is weird because the show began in the 1980s.
Yeah, for sure.
Might as well be to you.
We were fighting over this in the newsroom because...
Fighting over Jennifer Aniston.
Right, who's my all-time favorite. And Manny said, no, she's mine. I said, I watched the shows when they were new. I win. I don't care how many times you watch them on Netflix and repeats.
I'm giving her the royalties from keep rewatching it on Netflix and on HBO Max. I'm the bigger Jen Aniston guy.
Like, all-time favorite, like she's entertaining, or this, like you think she's the most attractive woman of all
Just a
time?
big fan.
I would leave my wife if Jennifer Aniston asked.
Jennifer Aniston. So that's your type.
Would you leave your wife for a lottery ticket like Nikki Glazer said? Sorry about Tom Brady. It's a deep cut from the roast. So you guys are both fighting over who gets to fantasize more about Jennifer Aniston?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Right.
There has to be a winner here?
Yeah, it's fight to the death. Really
She's a funny one. People who like her, like, guys who have crush on her, like, really are into her. Then I think a lot of people are, but she's not necessarily, like, everybody's taste. She's very cute, but I don't know, like, I feel like
Andrew
her
Perloff,
personality, she's like
Jennifer
Lucille
Aniston
Ball.
guy.
She's really funny. So that's interesting. Like, what is it about her that you like? Just
her face.
Okay. So
Physical gifts.
Yeah.
Physical gifts.
Yeah, I mean, she's not bad on TV, but she's just like, she's pretty fun to look at.
That was funny. When I was doing the sitcom bracket clips for the show, and I was going through all the shows, and I'm doing the Friends clips, and I was like, man, she was elite.
Yeah.
I really didn't watch Friends like that. I did watch the reruns, but then having to go through so many clips, I was like, I get it. I get why she was her, as they say.
But your all-time crush is kind of similar.
I know, Anne Hathaway.
Oh,
no,
big fan of
come
Anne
on,
Hathaway,
hold
too. I'm a big fan of Anne Hathaway as well.
You knew
Thank you,
exactly
Manny.
what you were doing.
No, I know, because like I think Anne Hathaway and Jennifer Aniston are in the same wheelhouse.
Thank you. Right, Bogusch.
I'm not saying
Anne Hathaway's gorgeous.
She is very beautiful. I don't know that she makes the same amount of top 10 lists than Aniston does.
Probably
no,
not.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, probably not. I agree with that.
I'm just kind of surprised, just the female perspective here.
Go ahead.
That of you guys got so many varieties to choose from, right? When you're talking about this, like you have swimsuit models, Kate Upton type thing, blonde bombshell types, right?
Yeah.
You've got influencers now.
Yeah.
You've got a whole new category of beautiful women to
Sophie Rain, sure, yeah.
Sure.
You're a pig.
To fawn over or whatever, or to think about or look at or what. You're just getting, you have so many more options. It's not just who's on the cover of a magazine, and yet you still go to the OGs of Aniston and Hathaway.
I respect my elders.
First he said he loved Jennifer Aniston. Now, 5 minutes later, I respect my elders.
Don't tell her that, by the way, if you ever get a chance to meet her. If you're going to shoot your shot, don't have that be the opener.
I would forget English if Jennifer Aniston were in front of me.
Would she like your leather coat?
I sure leather.
She'd probably remark on it.
It is remarkable how beautiful, like I'm being real, how if you do ever meet some of these celebrities, how beautiful they are in person.
Yeah.
Like Katie Holmes came to the New York One studios once, and it was very clear like who the movie star was and everybody else. It was like that person, and like Katie Holmes, I think she's kind of maybe similar ilk of like Anne Hathaway. People don't think Sydney Sweeney,
right.
But like it was like wow, what a beautiful person.
So all right, this would be totally shallow here. I apologize in advance, Maggie. But like, I feel like if you like Jennifer Aniston and Anne Hathaway, you like more of a petite figure. Where there's a lot of guys who want the Pamela Anderson, Kate Upton, Sydney Sweeney.
I don't discriminate. So
man, it sounds like you like everyone.
Yes. I think there's also if you come out saying, "Oh yes, my Pamela Anderson's my favorite," you're almost like a cliche. And if you're telling that to other women, I think you also look a little shallow.
I think
we're not having a conversation about their IQs, EJ.
Right. No, I'm not even talking about that. I'm just saying, like, I think what we're talking about, the voluptuous, the whatever. Like, I think it looks like, oh, you're looking for just assets, so to speak.
I just think there's a reason Sydney Sweeney is now starring in every single movie. There's 2 reasons, actually.
You beat me to it.
Anne Hathaway was, Also, too, we saw her like Princess Diaries and like
right. And think about me, I'm probably 13 when.
Yeah, so you've had a crush since you were 12 because of the kid movies.
Oh, but then she matured.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what are we talking about here?
I love just waiting in these shallow
I think, honestly,
waters.
Maggie's judging all of us, but I think
she already has judged all of us.
I think Maggie's judging EJ more for, like, I don't see it with Anne Hathaway. I honestly saw the thought bubble over your head.
Come on.
It was that my shock over EJ's love of Anne Hathaway wore off. Like when after we first found out, I was like, Anne Hathaway, huh? I just didn't think about it. I thought it was going to be more of like swimsuit model type thing when we were talking about crushes.
Yeah.
No, listen, if you guys want to flip this thing, like Jennifer Aniston was married to Brad Pitt, the elite of the elite from my perspective.
Right. But by the way,
to me, I don't think you have a crush on a swimsuit model. I think you have a lust for a swimsuit model.
Got it.
You know
but
what I'm saying?
I think it's so funny about us too. We are shallow about this, but we'll have a debate who's the best looking guy. We'll talk about that all day long. I mean, if Jimmy G walks in this door, I mean,
is Manny going to forget English?
Like, that is a handsome man.
I'll forget Spanish too.
Yeah,
Kelly,
that is a handsome.
hello.
Like we will acknowledge handsome men, even more so. Like if you want to like start talking about that, I mean, Brad Pitt, good looking. Yeah, we're cool with that.
I like Channing Tatum.
Jalen Hurts, hello.
I love the fact that Brad Pitt could walk into the studio, Manny opens his mouth, and Mandarin comes out. Like he just no English, no Spanish, it's just a totally different language. Anyway.
I was going with drool when he said I'd forget Spanish too, but if you want to switch a new language, that's fine too.
Totally rewired his brain.
I think we have some interesting poll questions coming out of this segment.
By the way, the Rams won last night.
Oh, right. 855-212-4227. But what does last night's loss mean for the 49ers? Spoiler, a lot. We'll get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining.
He's got a shrine to Anne Hathaway, photos lined up like a Broadway play. Whispers her name in the dead of night. In his dreams, she's the guiding light. He knows her lines from every flick, from The Devil Wears Prada to Les Miserables tricks. He's got a doll with a porcelain face. In his mind, they share a secret space. Lights dim low, hearts beating slow. EJ and Bogusch, their secrets grow. Anne and Jen, the muses they crave. Love so creepy, it's dug their grave. Bogusch keeps quiet, but he can't deny. Jennifer's charm makes his spirit fly. Late at night, he watches they crave. Love so creepy, it's dug their grave. Bogusch keeps quiet, but he can't deny. Jennifer's charm makes his spirit fly. Late at night, he watches they crave. Love so creepy, it's dug their grave. He's got a poster, her signature there. Talks to it softly, strokes her hair. Hopes one day they'll cross that line. In his mind, their lives entwine. Then he joins in, he's not far behind. Jen's got him under a spell divine. They plan to meet up, a grand design, to declare their love one eerie sign. The lights dim low, hearts beating slow. EJ and Bogusch, their secrets grow. Anne and Jen, the muses they crave. Love so creepy, it's dug their grave. The lights dim low, hearts beating slow.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Stafford lines up under center, first down and 10, takes the snap, play action fake, blitz coming, it's picked up. Stafford going deep, got Nakua open, makes the catch inside the 20 and down to the 16. Matthew Stafford with a deep shot and Nakua pulls it in.
Ryan Radke on Westwood One. That was actually one of the biggest plays of the night in a game that featured 0 touchdowns. Rams win 12-6, field goals for everybody. Welcome to the show, Maggie and Perloff. So the Rams find a way to win this game after a really sloppy first half by both teams because the rain was just coming in sideways. And then it dries out a little bit in the second half. And listen, it's not like the Rams. This did not look like last week against Buffalo by any stretch. So I guess credit the 49ers defense for keeping them in the game. But the 49ers offense was so anemic, they could not take advantage of even some of the Rams' miscues.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if the Rams had lost this game, it would have been a disaster because they were the team that was getting down to the red zone, getting close. You got to give the Rams a little bit of credit, too. They run the ball really well. We think of Stafford, but, man, they control the clock. Do a really good job because every time it's first down and they run it to Kyren Williams and it's like he gets 3-4 yards. I think that's like what good offenses do. They really control the game. The Niners had looked great the first quarter. Didn't it look like the old Niners when the defense was running around and hitting people and the Rams had to punt? That was
5 straight punts to start the game for the
Rams.
An
Incredible glimpse of the old 49ers defense, and then poof, just went away.
Went away, and poof, the season went away.
Yep.
And that's how quickly it's easy come, easy go in the NFL. But here's the thing about the 49ers. Yeah, I say poof, the season's gone, but this has been drip, 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 steadily. It just felt like all the news, if there was ever news that was coming out of the 49ers, it always felt like it was bad. It was either someone was getting injured, someone was dealing with something in their personal life that was really tragic. Somebody, even on the field, blowing fourth quarter leads to division rivals and not being able to play well in the elements, players upset with targets like Deebo Samuel. Everything that possibly could go wrong kind of did for the 49ers in a Super Bowl hangover year. It almost played out like to the T and even more so.
Well, yeah, absolutely. The fact that they were panicking about whether Isaac Guerendo could suit up, that's not a good sign, Maggie, considering no one on earth knew who Isaac Guerendo was until he suited up. They could play anyone a running back and then have them be good. It's just I think you and I have disagreed about this all show. I think it's like you can't look beyond the injuries. Whether the injuries are part of the Super Bowl hangover, that I could totally see what you're saying. But generally, no team could survive these injuries. So everybody's going to look bad. The players are going to look bad. The coaching staff's going to look bad. The quarterback's going to look bad. You just can't lose this many guys and be the same team.
And when we say Super Bowl hangover, obviously we mean Super Bowl loss. The hangover is so much worse.
Well, I mean, but let me ask you this question. Part of the reason is they played so long into last year that they wore down. Is the same thing true with the Chiefs? They've had 2 straight Super Bowl runs.
And to be honest, the Chiefs don't really look the same now, do they?
Is it possible?
They found ways to win. I saw the stat about the Chiefs, just to take a left turn to them for just one quick second. So they're 12-1. But they have a plus 56 point differential, which is the lowest of any of the, I believe, 26 teams that have started 12-1. And that came from Mike Sando of The Athletic. It kind of feels like it. But back to the 49ers, this is going to be one of those things that's almost like so many things have gone wrong for the 49ers this year. You're going to be able to take your pick on what do you think it was? Is it just as simple as the injuries? Is it the offseason contract holdouts and stuff that killed it? Is the offseason tragic stuff that happened with some players' families and also with Ricky Pearsall, who thankfully is fine after being held up in broad daylight and shot? You're going to be, is it shuffling of more assistant coaches and more coordinators? Is it Brock Purdy coming back down to earth? Is it Brock Purdy not being elite or special? Is it Debo being, at the end of his career? So many things went wrong. I think you're going to have a lot of different people who will point to different things. The actual answer is it all went wrong.
I feel like there's a clear ranking. I think it's Nick Bosa being dinged up, number 1, Trent Williams being dinged up, number 2, and then it doesn't seem, and then maybe Debo losing a step, number 3. I mean, those are 3. Remember last year they went on a little losing streak because Trent Williams and Debo were
that was
hurt.
Early in the season. They were able to
about
overcome.
halfway through, right? Early they were good. Yeah, they both got him back healthy. I'm just saying, like, when those guys are not on the field, like you could point very specifically to wins and losses. And I don't think Bosa has really been himself. I think he has stretches, but you could still see him if you watch closely. He definitely, like always, is looking at it, the lower right side of his ab. So I just think that is specific injuries, especially Trent Williams. I mean, what's their record without him? I'll bet you could point to exactly where their offense falls off when he's not on the field.
Well, I mean, but then at the same time, like, he was a contract holdout all season long.
No,
and
very true.
You knew that maybe he wouldn't be
and he's old
himself. 855-212-4227. All right, you've heard from us. Let's hear from you. George has been very patient, wants to get in and get his opinion in on the Rams. Good morning, George. What's up?
Hey, good morning, guys. My opinion, the 49ers window is rapidly closing. The Rams are the future in the Seahawks. The Rams have 16 rookies, a 53-man roster, which is pretty impressive. They're getting better. The fourth quarter last night, they dominated 49ers defensive line. They haven't done that in years. The 49ers, to me, the window's closing. I think it's the coaching. I think Shanahan is burnt out slightly. It's just my opinion. And that's just my opinion. You guys have a wonderful day.
You know, it's funny.
Thank you, George.
Thank you, George. Maggie, you said the same thing. You think Shanahan might be getting to the end of his rope. He does look a little haggard on the sideline.
I got to be honest. When we found out last night that Devondre Campbell, who came over as a free agent from the Packers, just up and walked off the field during the game because I guess he was so hurt that he or ticked off that he was demoted on the depth chart because Dre Greenlaw came back, that he was asked to play and they said no. I'm like, Kyle Shanahan must be like, are you kidding me? This season that we've been going through where the entire year we feel like we've been on life support, this dude's going to pull a selfish move now in a must-win game?
Yeah, is he a core player, though, to this group?
It doesn't matter.
And also, does Shanahan even know the defensive players' names?
Well, Leland is in Sacramento, big 49er fan. How you feeling, Leland?
Good morning. Morning, guys. Disappointing day to, wake up and have to face the music. 49ers had opportunities to win the game. They just couldn't close it. And then when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, I think, Andrew, you talked about Deebo Samuel. We've been talking about him all year long. And the 49ers, they kind of set a tone, the brass did, way in the beginning of the year by caving in to these players that are past their prime, extending their contracts, giving him way too much guaranteed money. And then Devontae Campbell, it's his turn to act up and act like a diva, and they set themselves up for it.
So, Leland, what would you do? What would you do this offseason? You're talking tough. Are you cutting people, or what are you doing?
Oh, man, I could only dream what I would do. Andrew, I would rebuild. You know, I'm just a little flea on the sideline that likes to call into your show and watch. But John Lynch has to make some big moves. They got to get rid of these old guys. Trent Williams is not a prime player anymore. I'm sorry, he needs to go. Takes up way too much money on the salary cap. Deebo Samuel, you know, I think we agree on him. He needs to go. But the 49ers, you know what? They'll probably cave into him and keep him around another year. How about Brock Purdy? Brock Purdy, I would give him a 1-year deal, pay him some pretty good money for a year and tell him, Brock, if you can sling it and bring it, we'll bring it back for 2 or 3 more years. But I think he's just too small of a guy. He can't make that deep pass. How about that pass to Ricky Pearsall in the fourth quarter? Underthrew him. That could have been a TD. I don't know. There's so many things that went wrong this year. You know, we could nitpick for an hour. What do you guys think?
Listen, Leland, you just gave me an idea. We've been talking about Brock Purdy, and we've been asking you who has more question marks around them in terms of their future in San Francisco. Is it Kyle Shanahan or is it Brock Purdy? And I don't think he would do this because I bet his agents would argue, you know, he's deserved more. But do you remember what the Packers did with Jordan Love?
Well, that was right. They were facing the last year of his deal, so they just
option.
Yeah, they sort of just rewrote his last year.
And added another year onto that. And then obviously he had a massive year, and then he got a huge deal, like $200 million.
But Love hadn't done nearly as much as Purdy at that point.
Exactly. So that's I think this is going to be tough. I think Brock Purdy's looking at $50 million.
Okay, well, at least you're $10 million off of Dak. You're getting in the right direction.
Okay, I'm sorry, $60 million.
Oh, yeah, because $50 million, that's a backup pay in the NFL now.
Listen,
no, I'm just kidding, but that's nothing. Like, they'd be happy to get away with that. I think that, okay, so we come to a consensus show. No more Debo. Leland wants to get rid of Trent Williams, but you're still bringing back there's so many high-priced, big-time guys. You're still bringing back 10 Pro Bowl players. So, like, why would you – I'll put a future bet on the Niners. Like, why wouldn't they be back next year? The year after 2020, when everybody got injured, they were 10-7 and almost got to the Super Bowl. Like, why can't that happen again? There's just so many good players there. Like, you're telling me that Ayuk can't come back healthy and be on one side, and Pearsall and Juwan Jennings and Kittle, and then that defense with all that crazy talent, those cornerbacks, like, why can't they be good again? I don't understand.
Well, they've got some things to clean up. Sean's in Oregon. Hey, Sean.
Hey, you guys. Thanks for taking my call. You know, I've been seeing this since last year at the Super Bowl. You know, Shanahan, a lot of this is on him. You know, they lost the Super Bowl by 3 points, and then 3 days later, they fired Steve Wilks, the defensive coordinator, who's been a head coach, and he's been on defensive and gone to the Super Bowl before. I mean, this guy was a good guy, and then they put a guy, Nick Sorensen, who's only been an assistant, never been a coordinator at any level. And they think this is just no problem. Nobody even notices that.
Well, here's the thing. Perloff thought that Steve Wilks was the problem. I'm not going to speak for you, Perloff, but
yeah, I mean, their defense statistically is better this year than it was under him, and they had everybody was hurt. So I don't know. I think they're both kind of like. I mean, Sean, like the defense used to punish other teams. Neither with Wilks or Sorensen. It's just sort of there right now.
I just think it's weird how that kind of coincides. You know, I haven't looked in depth in this a lot, but on the first one, I always look at like just basic changes that change something else. I'm like, well, look at what happened here.
Right.
And I was just scratching my head. I wonder what the other players were thinking when they probably didn't even did they have a vote on whether they wanted the guy gone? Like 3 days later after they lose the Super Bowl, here our coordinator's gone after we almost won the Super Bowl? I mean, this is crazy.
And to be fair, Sean, if we're talking about injuries and how Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy should get passes this year because the injuries have obviously impacted them, Dre Greenlaw literally tore his Achilles tendon in the middle of the game. That's a massive defensive player to lose in the middle of the Super Bowl. Maybe his injury changes the outcome of that game. Maybe he makes a big play.
I get the logic, though. I mean, listen, they were the number one defense basically 2 or 3 years in a row. Then Steve Wilkes comes in, they fall to 8. Now this year they're back up to 3. Like they should be a top 3 defense. And Wilkes, they definitely fell off last year. Remember the Lions scored 31 points in the playoffs.
So if they're a top 3 defense, and I know the secondary was
just
really
numerically.
good. Right. If they're a top 3 defense, though, then how do you not put any of the blame at Kyle Shanahan? Because
Can I touch on another subject real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. What's up?
I want to touch on Bill Belichick.
Okay, wait, hold on one second. Let me make this point about Kyle Shanahan, then I'll let you do it. If they actually have a defense that is representative, and they were good last night, and they've been good this year, then you got to put more of the blame on Shanahan.
Yeah, but McCaffrey was gone, and Debo is stunk, and Ayuk was gone, and Trent Williams is out, and they're terrible
your
without
quarterback.
You don't
got
have
your
left
quarterback.
tackle.
You've got a shot.
You don't have your left tackle, though. Most teams struggle in that spot.
I think that's given a pass.
Stubborn.
Okay, Sean, what do you want to say
stubborn.
about Belichick?
Well, I want to say, everyone talks about how he's the best of all time. Well, you know what? I mean, I look at Bill Belichick, the best of all time, and they talk about wins, and winning's the most important thing. Well, the best coach of all time doesn't screw up an undefeated season.
Wait a minute, Sean. Are you serious?
The best coach of all time doesn't lose 5 Super Bowls. He would have lost as many Super Bowls as he won if Russell Wilson didn't throw that interception.
Yeah, but it was because Belichick pointed out to the team what Russell Wilson, where he was going to be throwing this ball, that Malcolm Butler was even in position to make the play.
Nobody in leadership in NFL teams believes he's the best of all time. They're not going to hire him at this age. A hiring process is a real pain to go through. Nobody wants to go through it. So if he's the best of all time, let's see what he does at this age. Go get him, Grandpa. Have a great day, you guys.
See you, Sean. Have a good weekend.
But the funny thing about Brady and Belichick, like it came down to, and I'm not even blaming or crediting Belichick, like the Julian Edelman catch against Atlanta and the play you just mentioned, the Malcolm Butler interception. On the other hand, David Tyree caught a ball off his helmet after Eli was in the grass. That could have been, so it's amazing. All these close Super Bowls could have gone one way or the other.
But the Super Bowl, I don't judge a team by how much they won or lost a Super Bowl by. That's a game where it's pass-fail. You either win it or you lose it.
Well, I think, no, but the reality is the Patriots were in all these close Super Bowls. They won some, they lost some. I think the big issue with Belichick is Brady's success without him. I mean, that's the one thing the possible thing, not that he lost that undefeated season. Although, that being said, like, they probably should have won that game. That was not an A effort by the Pats.
I don't know if it was effort. I just happen to think that the Giants' defensive line, now we're talking about just Super Bowls from a long time ago, but the Giants' defensive line, they just had the guys. It was a little like your Philadelphia Eagles when they matched up against the Patriots and won. Like they beat Bill Belichick with a backup quarterback, but that's just because their defense, even though Tom Brady threw for a lot of yards in that game, the defense closed it out.
The Eagles' defense?
I know they let up a lot of passing yards, but it was the Brandon Graham sack at the end of Brady that really closed the game.
Well, it was, but it was totally desperate. The Patriots had like 30 seconds to get the whole length of the field. Oh, no, the Brandon Graham. But regardless, though, they let up 33 points. That was not a defense. I do think if the Patriots in 2007 played the Giants 10 times, they would have won 9 of those games. I'm sure they were kicking themselves out. They had an amazing team that year.
Yeah, listen, I don't. Listen, you blow out a team in the Super Bowl, good for you. Cowboys against my Buffalo Bills, Ravens, against the Giants, these really lopsided Super Bowls. But I don't judge because they barely won, because you needed Adam Vinatieri to kick game-winning field goals, the Rams, the Carolina Panthers. I don't think that takes away from Belichick. You're in the Super Bowl. Of course it's going to be hard. It should be hard. That should be a close game if you have the best team from each conference.
But Sean mentioned also he lost some Super Bowls too.
He did.
It's kind of like the Michael Jordan-LeBron debate a little bit.
I also think that, Tom Brady, whatever you want to say about Peyton Manning and Ben Roethlisberger, there were other good quarterbacks, not in his division, never in the AFC East, but in the AFC, there were other all-time quarterbacks that he had to face. And Belichick had to scheme up to beat those guys. You're beating Peyton Manning.
Yeah, but I mean, Tom Brady's better than him.
Tom Brady is better than him, but Bill Belichick is designing defenses to try to stop Peyton Manning and Ben Roethlisberger and some of these other no doubt first ballot Hall of Fame guys.
True. I mean, obviously Belichick's
Phillip Rivers.
awesome.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no. I don't agree with Sean's point exactly on the close Super Bowls, but I do think that the age thing, Sean did nail it. I think 72 is the real reason here. If Bill Belichick was 62, there'd be a line of 12 teams lining up to sign him. That's what's going on here. That's not fair necessarily, but has there ever been a 70? How many times has a 70-something-year-old coach been hired as the first hire? Not very many.
855-212-4227. All right, you're welcome to Wayne. We'll give you our favorite moments from the Belichick press conference from yesterday, by the way, because there were a couple moments. Oh, man. And, of course, you can answer our question. Who do you have more questions about as far as their future is concerned with the 49ers? Is it Kyle Shanahan? Is it Brock Purdy? Both were not very good last night. It's M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Every time I try to leave, something keeps pulling me back, telling me I need you.
All right, welcome back. Maggie and Perloff show. Bill Belichick is now officially the head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels. So bizarre. It's going to take about, he'll probably be gone back to the NFL by the time I wrap my head around this entire situation. But it seemed like everyone was in a good mood yesterday in Chapel Hill.
Yeah, Belichick was working hard to come across as being, what's the word I'm looking for? Likeable? Really, the guy who was being condescending with the media, stiff-arming the media, it was all smiles yesterday or whatever, however close Bill Belichick can get to a smile. It always looks like he's staring into the sun. But I thought my favorite moment was Belichick was asked about how hands-on he's going to be with recruiting high school players, and this is what he said.
Well, look, I think the recruiting process belongs to everyone. It belongs to Michael and his scouting staff and evaluations and setting that up, the recruiting department in terms of, making this an attractive visitor or destination for the athlete. But it's also part of the coaching job, and certainly the head coach has a big role in that as well.
Okay.
I think I'm going to read the MRI.
The part I liked was they said, are you actually going to go into living rooms? And are you really going to go in, talk to mom and dad in the living room? And he said he can't wait to do that. He can't wait.
Yeah.
Not like a Bart Scott can't wait, but like this will be fun for him to go sit down with Johnny's mom and dad to talk about how he's going to help get him to the pros.
Yeah, it's funny. It's going to be easy to recruit against him because if he's recruiting a 17-year-old kid, aren't all the other coaches going to say, well, how long do you think you're going to play with this guy?
See, I don't think that's a problem because players only basically play any place for a year.
Well, right. But if they're getting if they're getting an incoming freshman, you better hope he doesn't leave in a year. Like, I don't know. I feel like he's going to go all transfer portal and this is going to be all the best team money can buy, right? Like, recruiting is not a big factor here. And if it is, he's definitely going to be in trouble because you need time to develop those recruits. Like, look at Marcus Freeman in Notre Dame. It took a little time. He got those great classes and a little time to get it going.
Yeah, I think there's a different expectation in this era of college football. And the expectation is your team is always recruiting you in some ways because they either recruit you out of high school or they recruit you in the transfer portal or they're recruiting you to not go into the transfer portal. So I think you're kind of hoping you stay for a place, like stay for 2 years.
Right.
Maybe 3. None of this feels long term, even if you're a 17-year-old.
Yeah, maybe so. But I do think it's a totally. I don't think Bill Belichick and Mike Lombardi have any interest in high school seniors right now because I think they need to win immediately. So they're going to be like Dion and just go probably 60 transfers or something crazy like that.
That'd be nuts. Eric is in Boise, wants to talk about Bill Belichick. Hey, Eric.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. So, got to take on Belichick. I think he's just an average coach. Take his record, take Tom Brady games out of it, and Lawrence Taylor games out of it. What's his record?
Eric, you watched the first 3 Super Bowls, did you not?
I did.
Okay. Who do you think was more responsible for those Super Bowls? Was it Tom Brady or Bill Belichick?
I think it's Tom Brady.
The first 3, Eric.
Well, actually,
Tom Brady.
But technically, the answer is Adam Vinatieri. But
Brady was pretty good against the Panthers, and he's pretty good against the Eagles.
I'm just all I'm
Super
saying.
Bowl.
I mean,
yeah,
he had the year that Tom Brady blew his knee out. That was his best coaching year without a superstar quarterback or a superstar defensive player. So that's the one year that you point to. Since Tom Brady, record speaks for itself. between the LT years and the Patriot years, record speaks for itself. He's not a great coach.
Oh my gosh,
I mean,
Eric.
I'm not saying he's not a bad coach, but he's not this elite, can win with everybody, win anywhere. I give this North Carolina thing 2 seasons.
Oh, man, Eric, well, listen, you might be right that he might not be there very long, but that's just, I feel like I cannot stand for that kind of slander. I get you had the all-time great quarterback, you have the all-time great linebacker in Lawrence Taylor. I understand that, but there are other teams who could have had those guys and would not have won because you have to develop the rest of the team. And it's going to be shocking, and people are going to look into it about, and we have talked about it, who are the Hall of Famers who Tom Brady played with on offense besides Randy Moss that actually would have been Hall of Famers without coming to the Patriots?
Wait, is this a pro-Brady argument you're making or a pro-Belichick argument?
It's a pro-Belichick argument. It's not like these were all-star teams up and down the roster.
He did win 1 Super Bowl with Corey Dillon, right? Or am I making
yeah.
Right. I mean, he's Pro Bowl. I mean, he's a possible Hall.
I kind of got him off the trash heap at
Fair.
that point.
I mean,
but no, I mean, let's face it. Come on, Bill Belichick's he's basically an average coach.
This is like nuts.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. We've
I mean,
gone way too far in the other to the other side of the spectrum on this.
It is kind of funny. He better be pretty good at North Carolina, or that's not going to look good. I mean, we'll probably forget it because everyone keeps bringing up Bill Walsh went back to Stanford and was 500 and nobody cares. But there's there's bizarre pressure on North Carolina right now. Like
definitely.
Because you look at the ACC, like if you can walk and chew gum, you should be 9-3 in that conference. So I think that his schedule is so ludicrous next year. Like he's got to win all these games. He can't lose to like the Wake Forest and that's possible.
Andrew Bogusch has headlines for us. What's up, Bogusch? Got more Belichick for us?
I do, actually, because if I could learn a few things to our good friend Manny, there was once a year called 1980, Manny.
Oh, is that right?
It was the year I was born.
Good gosh.
It was the year of the Miracle on Ice.
You are ancient, aren't you?
It was also the last year that North Carolina won the ACC.
Oh.
That's where Bill Belichick takes over.
I believe we're going to run a good program and have a good team. So we'll see where all that goes.
Rah-rah, sis, boom, bob. We'll see where all that goes. Belichick, by the way, getting $10 million for his coaching staff. That's double what Mac Brown got for his assistants. And the school says it'll share $13 million a year in revenue with players for Bill Belichick.
I just looked up the top movie in 1980. Do you know what it was?
Ooh, let me guess. That was the year that Raging Bull was, I think.
Titanic.
1980?
No, the Titanic actually sank in 1980, if that's in Manny's view of history.
Right after World War I ended.
I have no idea.
The Red Sox winning the World Series.
That too, yeah.
They
sold Babe Ruth in the spring of 79.
1980, Empire Strikes Back.
Ah, yeah.
$200 million in 1980.
Makes sense.
Bogusch, back to you.
I barely got started last hour on the wonderful Joshua Carty. 4 field goals on a soggy Thursday Night Football. The last 3 coming in the fourth quarter as the Rams came from behind for a 12-6 win over the Niners. Here's Carty's head coach, Sean McVay.
He's steady. He's consistent. He's kind of unflappable. And he went out there, and, I mean, even the long one, the 48-yarder, I mean, he knocked that thing true, and it was firm and had great trajectory on it. And then the next 3 were excellent.
All those 3 came in the fourth. They were all under 30 yards. McVay's team has now won 7 of 9 to climb within a half game of first place in the NFC West. And then there are the Niners, who have now dropped 4 of 5 and who have added new drama to this disaster. We've been discussing all morning. Linebacker Devondre Campbell was in full uniform last night, but refused to play, eventually walking off the field as the third quarter ended. George Kittle trying to understand how that happens.
People are going through random things off the field. I can't speak on that. Whatever, his decision was, it wasn't for this organization. It wasn't for this team. And no, that's on him.
Kyle Shanahan would not say postgame that Campbell will lose his job for this, but said they don't need to talk about him anymore. The Dolphins are reportedly divorcing Odell Beckham Jr. after just 9 catches this season. The split is apparently mutual. Back on the college coaching front, UNLV has hired former Florida coach Dan Mullen to replace Barry Odom, who left for Purdue. And 2 nights before winning the Heisman, Travis Hunter cleaned up at the annual College Football Awards show last night. Hunter taking home the Walter Camp Player of the Year, plus the Bednarik Award as Best Defender and the Bolitnikoff Award as the Best Receiver.
Is that good? Yeah, that
it's
sounds
good.
That
Never
sounds
happened
good.
before.
Yeah, okay.
I guess we know who Bogusch bet on for the Heisman.
America is betting on him.
Wait, what are this is Maggie, you said something interesting. Like, I don't even need to watch it anymore. Like, I wish there was a little bit more drama.
It's in seasons like this, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
As Bronny James was scoring 30 in a G League game yesterday, Dad was not with the Lakers as they left for Minnesota. LeBron is out tonight after being excused from Wednesday's practice for personal reasons. Now, he could return Sunday in Memphis and gotten a week off, or he could wait until next Thursday night and take a nice 10, 12-day break here in the middle of the season.
I can't tell with this story. Like, are we not covering this enough? Are we not making enough of a big deal? Or is this really just not a big deal? It's hard for me to tell because personal reasons encompasses so much.
I think the kind of the tiebreaker for me here is this schedule break, which is because they didn't advance in the NBA Cup.
Right.
So a lot of teams have had kind of this bigger gap. So he's only missed a game, and now he misses this one tonight. So he might get basically like 10 days off for really no reason. My thought is he's like at a beach somewhere, like just relaxing, or getting something shot up in his foot because it's that big of an issue.
Like a treatment?
Yeah.
Because it can't be a personal reason that's a family thing because Bronny's still playing.
Right.
So if it was some family emergency, you'd think both of them would be gone. So, yeah, maybe it's a medical thing. Because, like, even to take a break like this, right? Say you need a break. It's December. The season just started.
But we also just had them talking about, maybe he's playing too much, and we know he wants to play 82. We need to slow him down. Then he misses a game for a sore left foot. And now, while they didn't do anything from Sunday to Wednesday, and then so everyone was off. And then Wednesday, he didn't come back, and that's when JJ said personal reasons. So I just think he's taking a little vacation here.
Maybe he's at the LeBron James of foot doctors again.
Fingers crossed.
Quick trip to Germany?
Wait, so remember we talked about trade scenarios. Like, does this affect his possibly being traded? Because if they're going to, would they want to rest him just so he's fresher for Golden State in the second half?
This is why I can't tell if we're not talking about it enough or if it's really nothing to see here. Like, maybe this is just LeBron, I don't know, just like needing a break or getting treatment on the foot, or this is some weird pre-trade thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think this is a break, and they're saving the made-up injury for the next time he needs a rest, like in the spring after they don't trade him, and they're getting ready for the play-in tournament.
Got it. Got to keep that knee tendonitis in the back pocket.
Exactly. You want to burn plantar fasciitis now, or whatever. What did you say the new one is? Contusion? You don't believe the word contusion?
Sore foot.
Mm-hmm. Basketball last night, Domantas Sabonis, 32 points, 20 boards, and the Kings 111-109 win in New Orleans. 20. The Celtics crushed the Pistons 123-99, and the Heat handled the Raptors 114-104. Jimmy Butler, 11 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, while his agent argues with media members about the validity of their trade rumors. Women's number 2, UConn lost for the first time last night, 79-68 at number 8 Notre Dame. Hannah Hidalgo leading the Irish with 29 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, and 3 steals. In hockey last night, Nashville snapping its franchise record-tying 8-game losing streak, 4-1 in Dallas. The Kings' 6-game win streak ending in Jersey, 3-1. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thanks so much. Coming up, Perloff and I have some picks to make. We'll do that. Still taking your phone calls, of course, about the 49ers and whose future has more question marks around it, Kyle Shanahan's or Brock Purdy's in the Bay. M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie, Perloff, Billy Joel. We're going to make our picks in just one moment. We've been talking a lot this morning about the 49ers. Their season is over. We've been talking a little about Bill Belichick, his introductory press conference. Also, Juan Soto had an introductory press conference yesterday. Less about the Mets, though, and more about the fact that he has not had any conversations with anyone from the Yankees since the season ended. So there was no, Judge on the phone trying to recruit Soto. There was no checking in with Soto. I think that's kind of a bad job by the Yankees, and I'll tell you why. I know the phone works both ways, and Soto could also call Judge, but the Yankees brass and Aaron Boone, the manager, they should have tabbed the people closest to Juan on the team and said, hey, can you check in with him periodically? You don't have to mention anything about free agency. Don't put pressure on him, but at least keep the line of communication open, right?
We're in it to win it.
But I don't know, like, how's the dynamic work? Aaron Judge seems just like a quiet guy. Like, are they buddies? I don't know if that's a guy. Maybe there's a guy who's lower down in the lineup who's really friends with him.
Exactly. Aaron Boone should know that. I mean, who was his pal on the team? It's not like it was him sitting at the end of the bench by himself.
You know who his pal is? Whatever dead president is on the $100 bill.
Scott Boras.
I think you're talking about some Benjamins.
I don't know. Like, yeah, I'm not a rap star. I don't know what the denominations are anymore. But yeah, no, I think money. I mean, I think the most obvious explanation is money.
Wait, do you not know who's on a? You know who's on a $1
I know
bill?
Benjamins.
Yeah,
because it's all about the Benjamins.
Yes,
but no, I don't know.
Maybe we should be talking about that
what's like the
song,
biggest bill? I actually don't even know.
What's the biggest bill?
Yeah, is there anything bigger than 100? No,
Belichick.
No, it's in the hundreds, but they don't like actually give him 100. I don't know. Yeah,
100. I'm pretty sure is the biggest one.
Yeah, what am I?
Can you get $760 million in like? I don't even know what that would look like if it was actually in hundreds.
God, I feel like an idiot. Of course, $100 is the biggest bill, right?
Yes,
is there
definitely.
ever in the history of the United States been a bigger bill?
I think in the history of the United States there actually was a bigger bill, but it was discontinued or taken out of circulation. Is that what they call it?
Why are there pennies? Like, don't get me started on that.
Let's get to our picks, shall we?
Maggie and Perloff's NFL picks.
I'm just thinking, I'm like, is this like a trivia question?
I have the answer.
Whose face is on a $100 bill? We know it's Ben Franklin.
Not that answer.
Okay,
the biggest bill.
Was there a $500 bill at one point that got taken out of circulation?
There was once a $100,000 gold certificate that is technically the largest note ever printed. 1934.
Wow, and back then, well, that's crazy.
Who had $100,000 back in 34?
Like the Vanderbilts.
500. So the 500, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 are all still in circulation. You can use them. They don't make them anymore, though.
Whose faces are on those? Do you know?
Oh, God, I have no idea.
Treating you like Google.
You think McDonald's will accept my $10,000 bill?
I'm looking at this man.
Many Big Macs as possible.
I'm looking at him, and I don't know. Who is this man? I can't.
No, not happening.
Manny, look, Google $500 bill. There's a stern-looking man from the 1840s on there. Or maybe that's FDR. Maybe I can't even tell. Anyway, go ahead.
The wig is powdered. That's all we know.
Let's get to our picks. EJ, can you update us on our records?
All right, Miss Maggie's a humble brag here. Didn't mention it once this week. 5-0? 5-0, which makes her record now 41-29 overall.
You were 5-0 last week?
I didn't want to say anything.
Why not?
Because this is why. Because Perloff always accuses me of, I don't know exactly what, caring too much about my picks. So I sat on 5-0 this whole week.
You went
just
5.
waiting
That's
for
amazing.
this moment.
I can't believe you didn't say anything on Monday.
Also, I really needed a big week. I had been going 2-3 for I think 5 weeks in a row. It was dire. It's time for me to pull out the big guns.
So I know. I know. I was 2-3 last week.
That's correct. So
and that was a killer too. I've had 2 bad beats last week, but please go ahead.
Yeah, you were 2-3 last week. The Bengals-Cowboys one was certainly a really rough one. And then I don't know what happened with Boise State UNLV just stopped scoring.
Stopped scoring. They barely even showed up for the game.
The first half there was offense, and then there was nothing happened with the rest of the game. So that brings your total record now to 34-36.
All right. This is some work to do here.
Okay, so obviously the way that we normally do picks, if you listen to the show, we generally do 2 college picks and 3 pro. This week we only have 1 college game. It's Army-Navy. And Perloff and I love our service academy so much that we couldn't possibly choose sides in this one, right?
I'm picking that game, Maggie.
I thought we agreed. Okay.
We said dealer's choice.
Okay. So we are going to do dealer's choice. Here's what it's going to be. 2 over-unders, 2 against the spreads, 1 player prop. Perloff, get us started.
Okay. I'm going to save my player prop for last. But I actually, and I'm sorry because I didn't know we were not doing the college game. There's also some lower level games. You could put some money on South whatever state. But I'm taking...
I'll get my $100,000 bills right on that.
I want to take Army, if you'll allow me, laying 6.5 points. Because we've watched Army and Navy, like, Army's awesome. That's my simple analysis of this. And I feel like, obviously, this is a big game, as they say. So I'm going to go with that. My other picks, I would like to go, if you'll permit me, with the Bengals. 5-point favorites over the Titans. I feel like we saw some fight in the Bengals last week. Joe Burrow's mad at a bunch of things. And then I'm going to go with the Seahawks in the big game against the Packers. 2.5-point underdogs. I think Seattle is a good team. You've been actually, you know why? Because of your influence. You've been telling me they're a good team. So I'm going to Seattle, 2.5. My totals for the NFL, Ravens-Giants over 42.5 because the Ravens are 16.5-point favorites. So if you do the math, Drew Lock or Tommy Cutlets, whoever is playing, just give me something. Give me something. I get over that 42.5. For my second total, once again, I'm going to lose on the Chiefs going over 43. Chiefs, Browns, Jameis. I feel like Jameis is, I want to bet on Jameis. I just love doing it so much. I'm going to go Chiefs, Browns, total over 43. I'm going to save my prop. I'll let you go with your picks.
Okay. Okay. So here we go. Lots of NFL, all NFL for me. Give me let's go against the spread first. I'm going to go with the Steelers. I'm going to go with the plus 5.5. I know Nick Kostos said if I feel like they're begging me to take the points, that's when you actually lay the points. But I just can't get over the fact that the Steelers keep these games close. And even in losses, they keep these games close. So inside of a touchdown, I'm going to take it plus 5.5 Steelers on the road to play the Philadelphia Eagles. For my second against the spread, give me Monday night, the Vikings laying 6.5 over the Bears. Is there anything left with the Bears? I mean, at this point, the coach has been fired. They were terrible against San Francisco. I think they want this season to come to a merciful end. And the Vikings, on the flip side, are just destroying teams right now, right? I mean, they are not destroying teams like
they're kind of like
the Falcons.
When they
I know
win,
went back,
they go on a roll.
Went down to the wire. But I just think they've found something here with the Darnold, the two wide receivers, and I don't really think the Bears are going to be able to hold up. So Vikings, and I'll lay the 6.5. For my over-unders, I'll take the Dolphins and the Texans over 46.5. Perfect conditions inside of a dome in Texas and Houston. And the Dolphins can score, and I still think they're going to be able to against the Texans. I feel like we haven't seen the Texans play in about 2 months for some reason. And also give me the Bucks and the Chargers. I'm going to go under 45.5. The Bucks have been getting into the 20s in terms of scoring, but only against bad teams. So the Chargers defense, I think, is going to hold up in this game. It's going to be a low-scoring game. That was Nick Kostos' upset pick of the week, by the way. But I'm going to take the under 45.5. And for my player prop, I will go to Sunday night. DK Metcalf over 5.5 receptions for Seattle, who is a slight home dog against the visiting Green Bay Packers. Give me a lot of DK Metcalf in this game, over 5.5 receptions.
Ooh, okay, so we're both a little invested in Seattle here. Okay, so there's one prop that everyone's paying attention to this week.
Yeah, and I know exactly what it is.
Well, there's two. You could go with A.J. Brown receptions, or you can go with A.J. Brown yards.
Because A.J. Brown called out the Philadelphia Eagles passing game. So the question is, are they going to overcompensate this week and try to force the ball his way?
So the yards are at 79.5. It's a lot of yards for an offense, especially because Joey Porter is probably going to pass interfere on every single time down the field. And that is why I'm going Alvin Kamara under 74 yards, 74.5 yards rushing Saints.
So you're ignoring the game completely.
I can't do this A.J. Brown thing. I honestly could not sleep last night because I was thinking about what the Eagles do. There is so much pressure on this situation. I don't want anything to do with it. I just totally went to a different game. I want to bet against the Saints because they're playing Jake Haener and they're so bad, and I think the Commanders are going to roll in that game. So I'm going with Alvin Kamara not showing up, 74.5 yards. The thing about it is A.J. Brown, 79.5 yards. It seems like the perfect total. Do you have a lean? We should just do a side bet on what happens in that game.
Yeah, so the drama in Philadelphia, very real between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. Brian Graham blasted him, or blasted their
Brandon
dirty.
Graham.
Brandon Graham, excuse me. aired their dirty laundry, blasted the dirty laundry, I should say, out to everybody. And so tons of speculation. I think the betting move there is more on the targets than the yardage.
Yeah. Can I bet targets in my state? I'm not sure.
I think that if it's at 5.5 or 6.5, I would go with the over. I think they are going to try to overcompensate, and Kellen Moore is going to try to make a statement here to Brown and try to shut this story up. So to me, I think they put the ball in A.J. Brown's direction a lot.
Yeah, so they will probably try to do that, but it's so obvious. Okay. I don't know. It's going to be hard. I think the Eagles are going to have a tough game, too, because the Steelers are starting to run the ball well. So I think it's going to be a slow game. I think the Steelers are going to keep this really close. What do the Eagles want to do? I don't care how many times A.J. Brown complains. They want Saquon Barkley to control this game. I feel like I like your pick of the Steelers, by the way. It's way too many points. The Eagles, we have no idea who they are, how they're going to respond. It's 5.5 receptions.
I think that's an easy over to me.
Oh, man.
He got 4 last week, and he complained right after the game. So you only need 2 more targets and catches?
I don't know. I just think that it's like Nick Sirianni might be opposite and be like, you know what, you're going to complain. Maybe
I'm going to freeze you out.
But also the Steelers are going to know it's coming to A.J. Brown, aren't they?
Yeah, but he's really talented. So I think I would bet
on him. Is Jalen Hurts really talented?
Yes.
That is now the big question. Oh, my God, I can't wait. But I'm going Alvin Kamara under for all you bettors out there.
Thank you, DJ Stewart. Thank you to Manny Rodriguez, Andrew Bogusch, Andrew Kaplan. Thank you to Andy Staples and Nick Kostos, the Weedos and the Coffee Drinkers. We'll see you Monday.